Chapter 2340. Did that Lei Daming talk to the owner of this restaurant? Han Xiaopa didn't know who Lei Daming was. The hidden Han family didn't do business, so he naturally didn't care who the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce was. However, that didn't mean he could tolerate this chairman bullying Lin Yi's elder. East Ocean was considered the territory of the hidden Han family. If Lin Yi's elder was bullied here, how could Han Xiaopa, as Lin Yi's little brother, endure it? Thinking of this, Han Xiaopa patted his chest and said, "Boss, leave this to me. I promise I'll take care of it. Isn't it just Lei Daming? I'll talk to Grandpa and tell this person to behave." "Okay, do as you see fit." Lin Yi nodded. "Uncle Chu, don't worry. Boss doesn't need to do anything about these small fries. I'll take care of them," Han Xiaopa said. "Let me find out who this Lei Daming is and then come up with a countermeasure." "No need to find out. He's here again." Lin Yi suddenly interrupted Han Xiaopa and said lightly, "Again?" Han Xiaopa was a little anxious. This was East Ocean City, and the hidden Han family was considered half the owner. How dare this Lei Daming come again? Han Xiaopa was about to explode. He suddenly stood up and said to Lin Yi, "Boss, leave it to me. I'll go deal with him." "Okay." Lin Yi nodded and said, "Be careful." Han Xiaopa walked out of the private room and saw the lobby manager, a balding man, and an old man and a young man rushing toward him. The lobby manager, who was a little weak before, was now like a big rooster, with his head held high and his chest out. Han Xiaopa didn't know the balding man, so he was probably Lei Daming. However, Han Xiaopa couldn't be more familiar with the old man and the young man behind him. Seeing them appear, Han Xiaopa couldn't help but frown. It was really a small world for enemies. As both hidden families of East Ocean, the hidden Han family and the hidden Zhao family naturally didn't see eye to eye with each other. Especially after the previous hidden family summit. The two families were like fire and water. "Han Xiaopa, why don't you just stay at home? Have you learned to stand up for others?" Qibing didn't like Han Xiaopa. He broke his leg in the first match and never had the chance to scold him. Now that he had the chance, and with Elder Bai beside him, he wasn't afraid of Han Xiaopa anymore. "Zhao Qibing, is your leg better?" Han Xiaopa, on the other hand, looked at Qibing's sprinting legs mockingly. "Looks like you're in a rush to get here because you're looking for a break. Han Xiaopa, I've given you a bit of sunshine and you think you're beaming? Previously, with Lin Yi by your side, I didn't dare to touch you. But now, who do you think you are? You're just a dog of Lin Yi's. You don't even know what's wrong with you. You don't even have any skills and yet you're trying to act cool." Han Xiaopa had hit Zhao Qibing's soft spot. "Let me tell you, if you know what's good for you, bring your men with you. Go back and tell your men not to get involved in Donghai's business. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. I'm really curious. You're just a mystic, right? What right do you have to talk to me like that?" Han Xiaopa looked at Qibing with interest and said mockingly, "Do you think you can fight someone stronger than you, boss? Level up by eating elixirs. Stop pretending." Qibing said in disdain, "I'm not afraid to tell you that Master has already promised me, and gave me the elixir. It'll only be a matter of time before I catch up to you." It wasn't that House Zhao didn't have elixirs like spirit-gathering elixirs and small qi-gathering elixirs. It was just that they didn't have much in stock. If a house wanted to develop in the long run, they couldn't just give everything to their children, right? Even if Qibing's generation all became Earth-class early phase, what would happen to the 4th and 5th generation? What if they didn't get the elixirs and there was a gap in strength? Wouldn't House Zhao be kicked out of the ranks of the hidden houses? So, in the past few years, all the hidden houses had one principle, and that was to let their children level up by themselves. If they didn't have to use elixirs, then they would use them. Plus, not leveling up to Earth class had an advantage, and that was that they could enter and exit the common world as they pleased. But now the Hidden House Association only existed in name, and there was no one to watch over the Earth class. After the rise of House Han, the children of the hidden houses were all greedy and prepared to train their children. So all the elixirs that had been sealed away for a long time were taken out. In fact, other than House Yu, the other hidden houses didn't have many elixirs. They got them through all sorts of bets, exchanges, trials, and etiquettes. How could they just use them like that? But now they were forced by the situation. If you didn't use it for others, you'd fall behind. So, House Xiao prepared to give elixirs to their children after the Hidden House Summit. Han Xiaopa looked at Elder Bai behind Qibing, and he was a little wary. Elder Bai was an Earth-class late-phase peak, and he wasn't someone Han Xiaopa could fight against. Elder Bai had been famous for a long time, and was one of the core members of House Zhao. He had the highest chance of stepping into Sky Class. Zhao Qibing, don't you think your hidden House Zhao is controlling us too much? You're interfering with everything? Han Xiaopa raged. Hey, I'm interfering with everything. What, bite me? Qibing knew that Han Xiaopa wouldn't dare do anything in front of Elder Bai, and so in order to get back at him for breaking his leg, Qibing naturally kept on humiliating him. I'm telling you, without Lin Yi by your side, you're worse than a dog. Go back to House Han and hide. Which eye of yours saw that I'm not by his side? A cold voice sounded beside Qibing's ear. It wasn't loud, but it was like thunder, almost making him piss his pants. He shivered and raised his head in disbelief, looking at Lin Yi walking out of the room. His legs started cramping. Lin Yi boss, you're here too? Qibing's voice was shaking. He regretted it, cursing Lei Daming's 18 generations of ancestors in his heart. Couldn't he at least say his name? Would it kill him to say his name? If they'd known that this outsider was Lin Yi, Qibing and Guangyin would have told Lei Daming to give him a portion of the market. How could they mess with someone like that? Chapter 2341. In Lin Yi's eyes, these masters from the hidden houses were nothing but a joke after Lin Yi created the fiery Baguazhang. They were much weaker than Taganlong. This made Lin Yi realize that strength level didn't mean everything. In other words, strength level only represented the strength of a practitioner when they were on the same level. But if they were on a different level, then it was a completely different thing. The common house Yu's boss Yu and the hidden house Yu's earth class were on the same level. Yes, but was it the same strength? Obviously not. And the hidden house's sky class early phase was the same as the ice palace's sky class early phase? Obviously not. The ice palace's sky class early phase was the same as the guards? Of course not. Using strength to judge a practitioner's strength became a joke when they were on a different level. The third head of the house was an earth class late phase peak, obviously much stronger than Elder Bai. But Taganlong, an earth class early phase, was even stronger than the third head of the house. And so, after studying Elder Bai's aura, Lin Yi shook his head. He didn't make a move, but Elder Bai's strength couldn't be that high. Qibing looked at Lin Yi awkwardly, speechless. Aura. You're right about one thing, you're worse than a dog. I have a dog called General Weiwu in my house, and even that's stronger than you. Lin Yi said. Break your own legs and get the hell out. I'll let this go. Qibing froze. He didn't think that Lin Yi would make a request like this. It wouldn't matter if it were any other time, but in front of Elder Bai, his Shifu, wasn't this a slap to Elder Bai's face? Would Elder Bai agree? The answer was obvious. Elder Bai opened his mouth and looked at Lin Yi coldly. Lin Yi, don't go too far. Could it be that you don't put me in your eyes? Although the Hidden Yu family didn't get a clear answer from the Heavenly Elixir sect, they knew something from the questioning tone of the Sky Silkworm transformation. Lin Yi's strength shouldn't be that strong. When the news reached the Hidden Zhao family, Old Master Zhao regretted not keeping Lin Yi. So Elder Bai thought that without the Purple Lightning Beast's help, Lin Yi wasn't his opponent. Even if they fought, Lin Yi would at most be on par with him. And recently, Elder Bai had already touched the barrier of Sky Class. He was only half a step away from Sky Class. You're right. I really don't care about you, Lin Yi said faintly, as if he knew Elder Bai was going to help. Do you think I'm scared of you? Elder Bai humphed. One move, Lin Yi said lightly. What? Elder Bai paused, but then he thought of Zhao Guanger and his face changed. At that time Lin Yi Zhao Guanger, and the others said the same thing. I said, I only need one move to beat you, Lin Yi said. Break Zhao Qibing's legs and take him away. I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. After that, you don't have to leave. Lin Yi kiddo, do you really think I'm scared of you? Elder Bai was infuriated. He'd never been threatened like this before. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was strong on the stage of the Hidden House Summit, but he wasn't unbelievably strong. It was just that Lin Yi said that he could beat a Sky Class. Fiery 8 Trigram Palm 5th form. 10 seconds passed and Lin Yi made his move. He didn't hold back at all. He wanted to scare the small fry in Donghai, as well as the hidden houses that wanted to make a move. Back then, when he left the Hidden House Summit, Linny was terrified, afraid that he'd be stopped if he wasn't careful. Linny didn't say anything despite the doubts and suspicions of some people. But at this moment, Linny used his self-created technique and fired the first shot of his counterattack. Since House Zhao was so arrogant, he could only step on their corpses. This trip to Wulonghout Mountains, Linny felt more and more how weak he was. He didn't have time to fight with these hidden houses, so he had to start with the Hidden House Zhao, integrating the Hidden House's strength into his own practitioners' association. At this moment, Linny didn't have the ability to shake a giant like House Yu, but he could still make a move on House Zhao. All of this was because of this, and Linny had wanted to take revenge for a long time. Back then, Zhao Guang, Yu Lu, and Yu Shisan teamed up to cause trouble, and they almost destroyed Linny and Mrs. Family. Linny had been holding back this anger. It wasn't that he didn't want to take revenge, but it wasn't time yet. Linny was a very rational person, and he would only fight with his life on the line when he was in danger. Under normal circumstances, Linny wouldn't do something stupid like hitting a rock with an egg. Right now, Linny didn't want to be enemies with the Hidden House Yu just yet. It was because of two people, Yu Bing and Yu Ning. It was hard for Linny to kill them all. They were different from the common House Yu. House Yu, Linny didn't have the strength to fight them at the moment. Not only did they have a lot of masters, but they also had a complicated relationship with the Sky Elixir sect. Most importantly, Linny wanted to get more treasures from House Yu with Han Jingjing. Since they weren't enemies yet, he'd keep them for now. House Zhao was different, however. This Zhao Qibing had been going against him many times. From the start in Songshan, this little bastard had been jumping up and down. Not only did he order Xihua to attack Chu Pengzhan's company, but he also burned Yu Xiaoka's orphanage. Linny wanted to kill him for a long time. Elder Bai didn't think that Linny would suddenly make a move, but he wasn't panicking. He was an Earth-class late-phase peak, so why would he be afraid of Linny? Plus, he had studied Lin Yi's fiery technique before. It wasn't very strong, and he had a high chance of winning in a head-on clash. And so, Elder Bai channeled his practitioner's arts without hesitation. He didn't dodge but punched out, activating his technique. Majestic Fist, 10th form. Linny laughed. He didn't think that Elder Bai's technique was called Majestic Fist. Was it a joke? Evidently not looking at Elder Bai's serious face, Linny knew that this was the Tyrant King's fist. Just from the name alone, it didn't sound like anything powerful. The 10th form, the 5th form of Fiery 8 Trigram Palm, was equivalent to the 11th form of a normal technique. Pack. Chapter 2342. Elder Bai's body shot out like an arrow, crashing into the wall at the end of the hallway with another loud crash. He fell to the ground like a dead dog, unmoving. Lin Yi's organs were shaken quite a bit, and his meridians were damaged as well. But Linny could take it, while Elder Bai obviously couldn't. The 10th low-tier martial skill against the 11th high-tier martial skill. The result was obvious, so Elder Bai's loss wasn't unfair at all. But Linny knew that Elder Bai wasn't dead. It wasn't realistic to kill him in one move, but at least he'd lost the ability to fight. With House Zhao's current strength, it was impossible for Elder Bai to recover. His injuries were too heavy, and most of his meridians were broken. His organs were displaced too. Even if he recovered, he'd be a cripple, unable to have Earth-class late-phase peak strength. It wasn't easy for him to maintain his Mystic class or even Golden class. Gah! Qibing was dumbfounded. He looked at the unreachable person in his heart, the person he could only look up to, but he couldn't even take one move from Lin Yi. He'd been sent flying just like that, not knowing if he was dead or alive. It was only at this moment that Zhao Qibing understood that he couldn't go against Lin Yi. He couldn't rely on luck anymore. In front of Lin Yi, Qibing didn't seem to have any advantages at all. It was like this before, and it was like this now. Master Bing, next time you want to cause trouble, it's best if your grandpa comes, but even he won't be able to do it. 2 moves at most. Linny said faintly. He was injured, but Linny didn't show it. This injury was nothing to Linny, who was often injured. Linny, on the other hand, was an expert at disguising himself after being injured. And it was because of this that his enemies couldn't figure him out. Linny boss, you must be joking. I wouldn't dare cause trouble. I was just joking, haha joking. Qibing said with a sad face. Didn't you hear what I said? Linny asked. What? Qibing paused. Break your own legs and leave with your people. Give this restaurant to me, and this Lei Daming guy, I don't want to see him anymore. Linny said faintly. As for the chairman of Donghai Chamber of Commerce, I recommend someone Peng Zhan Mingyao's father. What do you think? I agree, Qibing said. Then my legs. Does that mean I don't have to break them? If that's the case, then leave. Linny nodded. He didn't break Qibing's leg again. It's almost the end of the year. Whether or not you can live past the end of the year depends on your performance. What do you mean? Qibing paused, his heart skipping a beat. Do you remember when I told you that you wouldn't be able to live past this year? Lin Yi's face paled as soon as he said that, because he remembered the conflict he had with Zhao Qibing, but he couldn't remember why he had to fight with Zhao Qibing. Seemed like it was because of someone important to him, but who was it? Lin Yi couldn't remember. Who was it? The Miss? Shu? Or was it Xiao Xiao? But it didn't seem like it. Kang's girlfriend, Fuan? Yet, it seemed to be related to Fuan, but it definitely wasn't her. Who was it? Lin Yi's mind was in a mess, as if he had lost some important memory. This wasn't the first time he felt this way, and it made Lin Yi feel strange. Qibing naturally remembered Lin Yi's words. That setback was still fresh in his memory, and he would never forget it for the rest of his life. He came to Songshan with great ambition and built Qibing's skyscraper, but it was destroyed by Lin Yi. Fu! Lin Yi took a deep breath, and his memory was in a mess. He looked at Qibing and asked, Qibing, let me ask you something. The first time I broke your leg and destroyed your skyscraper, what was the reason? Bustling. I didn't do it on purpose. Qibing naturally didn't know what Lin Yi was talking about. Qibing, why are you still here? Get out of here. Yushu suddenly opened the door and pointed at Qibing with her hands on her waist. Shu 007 had been acting as a spy at the door the whole time, and when she heard Lin Yi asking about this, she couldn't help but walk out and stop Qibing from continuing before he could say anything else. Get out, I'll get out now. How could Qibing not leave? He was afraid of breaking his leg again. Wait, the thing I asked you before. Lin Yi didn't want Qibing to leave just like that. Oh, shield bro, don't bullshit with this trash. If you talk too much, you're going to be trashed. Ask Shu if you have anything. Yushu said. Alright, get out. Lin Yi waved his hand, indicating that Qibing could leave. Lei Daming's face paled. He didn't think that the girl with the big boobs would be so strong. The high and mighty Master Bing was as careful as a mouse in front of her. Why are you still here? Are you waiting for death? Qibing kicked Lei Daming, who was standing there in a daze. Daming snapped out of his daze and staggered behind Qibing, not even daring to look back. The two picked up Elder Bai at the end of the hallway and took the elevator downstairs. Elder Bai kneeled, Qibing left. Lei Daming was scared, and Guangxi was in trouble. When the lobby manager told Zhao Guangxi what happened here, Zhao Guangxi was so scared that he almost vomited. Lin Yi? He almost fainted. Why was it him again? Last time it was because Zhao Fafa didn't know his place and messed with Lin Yi's woman. Not only did he bring Zhao Fafa out of Songshan, but he was also alienated by the hidden house Zhao. But today he was wronged. He was only following Lei Daming's orders. He didn't even think about messing with Lin Yi. He was being shot even though he was lying down. With that thought, Guangxi hurriedly called Zhao Qibing. Hello. Qibing didn't want to answer at first, but he remembered that Lin Yi was still eating at Guangxi's restaurant. What if something happened to Lin Yi? He quickly picked up. What's up? Master Bing, you can't just ignore me. I'm just following Lei Daming's orders. I didn't want to mess with Lin Yi. Guangxi said with a sad face. He wants my restaurant and property. Why am I so unlucky? Chapter 2343. Then, as if remembering something, Qibing continued. How much is that hotel and company worth? Give it all to him, and I'll arrange something for you later. If you can make Lin Yi happy, it'll be a great achievement. Don't let him hate us, the hidden house Zhao. I'll think of a way to make you the vice chairman of the business association. Other than managing the business, you can spend the rest of your time kissing Peng Zhan's ass. Qibing really pissed his pants today. Elder Bai was such a powerful being. Yet Lin Yi took him down with one move. He even said that even if Elder Zhao came, he wouldn't be able to take on Lin Yi in 2 moves. How could Qibing fight Lin Yi? Qibing didn't want to die. As the saying goes, a bad life is better than a good death. He was the heir of the hidden house Zhao, he couldn't die. Although he hated Lin Yi to the core, he knew that he couldn't take revenge. Absolutely not. Even if he couldn't show even the slightest bit of hatred. But deep in his heart, he had already listed Lin Yi as his #1 enemy. As long as he could make a comeback, it would be the day of Lin Yi's death. But before that, he would kiss Lin Yi's ass and lick his shoes. He had to live, and that was the only way he could take revenge. On this day, Pingzhan Industries had officially gained a foothold in Donghai City. What was supposed to be a complicated matter had been solved in the middle of a meal, and Pingzhan, an outsider, had somehow become the chairman of Donghai Chamber of Commerce. Pengzhan, on the other hand, had somehow accomplished his dream. What he'd thought would be a difficult task had been effortless. Lin Yi and Shu returned to the room, and Lin Yi looked at Shu confused. Shu, why did I cause trouble for Zhao Qibing the first time? Because he likes Xiao Yao and wanted to XX Xiao Yao. That's why you got mad, Shu said. Meng Yao heard Yushu's words and blushed. She glared at Yushu but didn't refute. She knew that Yushu was bullshitting, but if she refuted it now, Lin Yi would definitely get to the root of the problem. It might even lead to Tang Yun's matter. Meng Yao could only admit it. Is that so? Lin Yi paused. It seemed like Zhao Qibing and Meng Yao did have a grudge against each other. Yeah. Yushu nodded with a straight face. All right. Lin Yi nodded. My mind's a little messed up after the deviation, and I keep feeling like something's missing from my memories, piece by piece. For example, when you guys went back to my old home with me, there were a lot of things I can't remember, including the night on the way back. I don't remember anything. Yeah, Shield Bro, your memory is a bit messed up after you went crazy, but Shu remembers everything, Yushu nodded. Alright. Lin Yi thought that it was most likely the side effect of going crazy last time, causing his memory to be incomplete. What happened before didn't affect the mood of the dining, and Pingzhan was especially excited. He heard from the room that Lin Yi solved the problem easily. He was a senior, and it was a bit embarrassing to ask a junior like Lin Yi to help him, but Pingzhan didn't treat Lin Yi as a normal person the moment he came to the Chu villa. It was all because of his father's recommendation, and what his father said after that. If Wan came back and House Chu rose again, it all depended on Lin Yi. Pengzhan didn't know what kind of background Lin Yi had, but he believed in his father, Chu Sanhua. Just like the benefactor his father found for him, he helped him take care of the Grand Elder of the Dark Palace, and the first person to cause trouble for him in Wan. He also forced the Grand Elder to make a promise, which was better than him and Meng Yao. If it wasn't for that person, he and Meng Yao would have died a long time ago. He hadn't heard from that person for a long time, but Pingzhan suddenly saw the shadow of that person in Lin Yi, except that Lin Yi's personality was colder and more arrogant. Uncle Chu, congratulations on successfully moving the group to the capital. Han Xiaopa raised his glass and said with some shame. Originally, as a local tyrant, I should have done my bit, but I didn't expect the hidden Zhao family to intervene. If boss didn't help, I wouldn't have been able to handle it. Xiaopa, don't look down on yourself. If it wasn't for that old thing Elder Bai, Zhao Qibing wouldn't have dared to be so arrogant, Lin Yi said faintly. This time the hidden house Zhao should be able to rest for a while. Yeah boss, you're too strong. You can kill an Earth class late phase peak now? But I see that you're still an Earth class mid phase? Han Xiaopa looked at Lin Yi, a little confused. Yeah, I've created a technique and it's just a little stronger, Lin Yi said. No way boss. Boss, you actually created your own martial skill? What kind of concept is that? You're a master of martial arts. Han Xiaopa said, shocked. I'm not a grandmaster. Lin Yi smiled, suddenly thinking that if he combined Thousand Changes and Raging Fire Fist together, would he be able to create a new technique? But Lin Yi shook his head at the thought. The second form of Mu Linsun's Thousand Changes and 5 Elements Baguazhang had the power of the second form of the Frenzy Fist. If he were to combine Mu Linsun's Thousand Changes with the Frenzy Fist, it'd only have this much power. It'd basically be a waste of effort, and there was no guarantee of success. When he was on the stage of the Hidden House Summit, Lin Yi had thought of combining them, but he didn't succeed. Maybe it was because the 5 elements bagwazang had a special way of activating it that it could produce the effect of combining them. Of course, if he could combine Raging Fire Fist, Thousand Changes, and 5 elements bagwazang into one, then the power would reach a terrifying level. But Linny knew that it was impossible. Linny couldn't use 2 techniques at the same time. He could only use 1 technique at the same time, and then use it according to the method of activating 5 elements bagwazang. Linny wasn't Zhou Badong. He couldn't use 2 different techniques at the same time. Linny could control the switching time to the shortest possible, using both hands one after the other as if he was activating 2 skills at the same time, but that was only a matter of making the switching of skills as nimble as possible. It wasn't the same as using both skills at the same time. Chapter 2344. Zhao Qikuan? I heard that he was sent to the Sky Elixir test by the Hidden House, but I'm not sure. Xiaopa was from a hidden house as well, and naturally, he had received the test from the Sky Elixir school, but he didn't know about the relationship between Zhao Qikuan and Lin Yi. Sky Elixir test? What's that? Lin Yi asked curiously. Boss, even if you didn't tell me, I wanted to discuss it with you in the next couple of days. Xiaopa said. I wanted to talk to you about it before when you asked me for the qi gathering pill, but you were outside, and it wasn't something that could be explained in a few words. Oh, tell me about it. Xiaopa's words seemed to indicate that the Sky Elixir School's test was quite useful. Yes, boss, the Sky Elixir test is a test sent out by the ancient Sky Elixir School, and all the masters of the hidden houses and above can participate. Xiaopa said, completing the test will give you a great reward, and the reward can be a 3rd-level pill from the Sky Elixir School, or some treasures of the same value. From what I know, the Sky Elixir School has a lot of colored steel, and that's a necessary material for cauldrons. So, if you can participate in the test and complete the mission, then you can get these rewards. Colored steel. Lin Yi raised an eyebrow. This was something he really needed, but was the Sky Elixir test really that easy to complete? Compared to the Ice Palace's trial, the rewards weren't just a little bit better. And so Lin Yi was very confused. This Sky Elixir test isn't simple, is it? It is. Xiaopa nodded. Go to a very dangerous place and gather some ingredients. As long as you gather enough, you can come back and exchange them for the reward. The Sky Elixir School does what they say, and there have been people who have gotten the 3rd-level qi gathering pill before, but most people never come back. Oh. Lin Yi frowned. If that's the case, why doesn't the Sky Elixir School send their own people? Isn't this reward a little too generous? Maybe because it's too dangerous and the death rate is too high. The Heavenly Elixir sect doesn't want to make unnecessary sacrifices. Han Xiaopa said. But we don't know much about the hidden Han family. Although we've received the Heavenly Elixir sect's trial call before, we didn't even participate in the easier Ice Palace trial, let alone the dangerous Heavenly Elixir sect trial. Our hidden Han family has been keeping a low profile. I see. Lin Yi began to plan in his heart. This was a good opportunity to get colored steel, but he didn't know if he should participate. From what Han Xiaopa had told him, the rewards for this test were great, but the danger was high as well. The Hidden House Zhao's goal for sending Qikuan there was self-explanatory. They wanted to use him as a pawn to gain some benefits for the family. But it wasn't a pity if he died. At least he couldn't cause trouble for Qibing. Of course, Lin Yi didn't know that the Hidden House Zhao made this decision because of him. It was because of Qikuan's information that the Hidden House Zhao made this decision. If you're going, boss, then I'll go with you. Han Xiaopa saw that Lin Yi was a little moved. He gritted his teeth and said boldly. He thought back to the time when he and Lin Yi were in the ring. With a boss like this, he had no regrets in his life. There's no rush to make a decision. Go ask around about this Sky Elixir sex test, and ask Zhao Qikuan on the way. See if he's really going. Lin Yi said. Zhao Qikuan is my follower as well, so I don't need to worry about him. I can't just ignore him. Oh, alright, I'll keep an eye out. Han Xiaopa paused and nodded. Actually, the best way is to ask Zhao Qibing directly. I'm sure he'll tell me everything he knows. Lin Yi nodded. Xiaopa was stunned. Alright, ask him out later and ask him about this. Lin Yi wasn't interested in asking Qibing personally. Just looking at him annoyed him. No problem, boss, leave it to me. I'll investigate this thoroughly. Han Xiaopa replied. After they finished their meal, Just as they were about to pay the bill and leave, the lobby manager followed a middle-aged man into the private room with a dark expression. "What are you doing back here?" Han Xiaopa yelled. The manager was pissed off. This guy was making him lose face again and again. He was here to give face to Lin Yi, but he was almost kicked out by the manager. After that, the manager found Qibing and Elder Bai to back him up and gave Han Xiaopa a hard time. Now that he was here for the third time, naturally, Han Xiaopa wasn't going to be nice to him. Everyone, I'm sorry. I'm the owner of Northern Ice Sea Seafood Restaurant, and also the chairman of Guangxi Restaurant Group. My name is Zhao Guangxi. Guangxi said carefully to Lin Yi and the others. Zhao Guangxi? Lin Yi frowned. What are you doing here? Do I know you? Waiter, pay the bill and leave. I'm Zhao Fafa's father, Lin Yi boss. Guangxi panicked. He was following Qibing's orders to give his business to Lin Yi. If he didn't, he'd face Qibing's wrath when he returned. Plus, there were only benefits to giving away his assets. Zhao Qibing promised to help him become the vice chairman of Donghai Chamber of Commerce, and he also promised to help him manage some other businesses. So, the food and beverage businesses in his hands weren't essential anymore. Hidden House Zhao? Lin Yi stopped and asked. Actually, when Lin Yi heard Guangxi's name, he thought of Zhao Guang'er and Zhao Guangyin. The second generation of the Hidden House Zhao all had similar names. But Lin Yi was confused. Why wasn't Guangxi a practitioner? But when he heard that he was Zhao Fafa's father, Lin Yi understood. He was Zhao Guangyin's distant relative, although he was also called Zhao Guangmo. This had nothing to do with the second generation of House Zhao. It was just a coincidence. As for Zhao Fafa, Lin Yi had some impression of him, but not much. He didn't think too much about it. Chapter 2345. Oh. Lin Yi didn't expect Qibing to react this quickly. He smiled. Uncle Chu, just accept it. Since it's a gift from Zhao Qibing, there's no reason for us not to accept it. Peng Zhan's heart skipped a beat. He didn't think that Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa's joke would be taken seriously by Qibing, and he'd done it this quickly. Peng Zhan didn't know how big the Guangxi group was, since he wasn't a local businessman. He hadn't investigated Guangxi before, but the value of this Northern Ice Ocean seafood restaurant was not to be underestimated. If he could take over this business, Peng Zhan Industries' entry into Donghai would be even smoother. Peng Zhan took in a deep breath and walked over excitedly. He looked at the documents Guangxi handed him, discovering that the land of the Northern Ice Ocean seafood restaurant was Guangxi's as well. The value of this place was even more immeasurable. What a huge investment. Peng Zhan sighed to himself as he looked at Lin Yi's nonchalant face, as well as Han Xiaopa's nonchalant face. He'd underestimated Peng Zhan's worldview, and Lin Yi probably wouldn't even be interested in this amount of money. And he'd even thought of using Peng Zhan Industries as Meng Yao's dowry. But it seemed like Lin Yi didn't care about it at all. Peng Zhan sighed at the thought. He took over Guangxi's restaurant group under Guangxi's fearful expression. Phew! Guangxi let out a sigh of relief when he saw Peng Zhan accepting his gift. It was hard to give gifts these days, let alone something as expensive as this. But he had no choice. Even Master Bing was afraid of him, someone who could cripple Elder Bai with one move. Who was Guangxi? What virtue or ability did he have to contend against him? Chairman Chu, there's a meeting at Donghai Chamber of Commerce this afternoon. Should we go together? Guangxi asked carefully. Master Bing asked me to be the vice chairman, and I'll do my best to support you. Chairman? Me? Peng Zhan paused, not sure if he should laugh or cry. A few hours ago, Donghai Chamber of Commerce was attacking him with everything they had, and a few hours later, he'd become the chairman of Donghai Chamber of Commerce. Sometimes the matter of time was incomparably magical. The young miss was also a little surprised, but she was more happy and proud. Lin Yi was different. It was as if Lin Yi was one of her people. But was he? Meng Yao was confused. If it was in the past, she could say without hesitation that Lin Yi was her man and he was her follower. So what? But now she couldn't say it. She was too embarrassed to say it. Lin Yi was no longer her follower. He said that they were good friends. How good is a good friend? Lifelong friends? Never leave the villa? The eldest miss was a little worried and regretful. Peng Zhan was, after all, an influential figure in Songshan's business world. It didn't take long for him to get used to the situation. All right, I'll have to trouble you to introduce me to Mr. Zhao. Well said, well said. Zhao Guangxi's face bloomed like a flower, like an old chrysanthemum. Right, it's time for you to change the manager. Han Xiaopa was a vengeful person. He felt wronged when he saw the manager's pale face. He was the young master of the hidden house Han, and he didn't even know him. What's more, he caused so much trouble. It wasn't the first time Han Xiaopa came to the Northern Ice Seafood restaurant. Wasn't he treated like a vet every time he came? Why did he have to meet someone like this today? Ugh, the lobby manager really wanted to cry but had no tears. He was a distant relative of Zhao Guangxi. It wasn't easy for him to become the lobby manager. In the end, he was fired after only a few days of being in office. Ugh, what ugh, Master Han told you to scram. Why aren't you scramming? Zhao Guangxi said angrily. The lobby manager pulled a long face and left the room. He thought to himself, what does this have to do with me? I'm just following your instructions. In the afternoon, Peng Zhan, Faubert, and Zhao Guangxi went to deal with the business in Donghai. Lin Yi, on the other hand, drove the Miss Shu and Grandma Sun home. Han Xiaopa, on the other hand, returned to the hidden house alone, preparing to help Lin Yi find out about the Sky Elixir School's test. Hidden House Zhao. Zhao Qibing, Zhao Guangyin, and Lei Daming stood in front of a yard with pale faces, anxiously waiting for the results. Elder Bai was usually in charge of this yard, but today, he was lying on a bed in one of the rooms, being treated by Elder Zhao and Yao Wang. How is it? Elder Zhao asked with a sad face. Basically, he's crippled. Yao Wang sighed helplessly. His life can be saved, but his strength can't be recovered. Even with the circulation pill and meridian opening elixir, his strength can only stay at golden class, mystic class at most. Sigh. Elder Zhao sighed. At the same time, he was puzzled. Just who was strong enough to injure Elder Bai? Because he was worried about Elder Bai's injuries, he didn't have time to ask what had happened. Qibing and Lei Daming didn't have time to ask. Is there no other way? Unless he uses the third-level pill, the Great Recovery Pill. Yao Wang said. But that's not really a solution because the third-level pill, the Great Recovery Pill, isn't something we can think of. It's as precious as the Qi-gathering pill. Qitan. Old Zhao suddenly thought of the Sky Elixir test that Qikuan was about to partake in, and his eyes lit up. If Qikuan can pass the test, then a third-level pill wouldn't be a problem. That's true. But passing the Heavenly Elixir Gates trial is basically harder than reaching the heavens. Zhao Yaowang also knew some inside information, so he smiled bitterly and said, many people want to pass the trial, but they basically never return. Sending Qitan to the test was actually to get rid of him, wasn't it? Old Master Zhao nodded silently. Yes, how could the trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect be so easy to pass? If it were that easy, then the third-level pill wouldn't be worth much. No matter what, this is our last hope. Elder Zhao sighed. Let's stabilize Elder Bai's condition first. I'll go ask just who was strong enough to injure Elder Bai. Yes. Yao Wang nodded. Elder Zhao, on the other hand, walked out of the yard with a dark face. He looked at Guangyin, Qibing, and Lei Daming and asked in a low voice, what happened? Chapter 2346. Although he didn't think that it was his fault, Elder Bai's injuries were very serious, so he was still very worried. Haze! Old Zhao sighed, shock flashing in his eyes. Lin Yi, is he really that strong? Just how strong is he? Did he level up again? No, he's still in Earth class mid-phase. Zhao Qibing shook his head and said with certainty. He was a practitioner as well, and when Lin Yi attacked, he saw Lin Yi's strength clearly. He was indeed an Earth class mid-phase. Earth class mid-phase. No wonder he said that he had the strength to fight a Sky class. He wasn't bragging. Old Zhao's body was covered in a cold sweat. If it weren't for Elder Yu, he would have gone after Lin Yi after the meeting ended. From the looks of it, it was fine for them to work together, but they all had their own agendas and wouldn't use their full strength. If that happened, they'd be the unlucky ones. Yeah, Grandpa, I didn't know it was Lin Yi. Zhao Qibing said bitterly. This isn't your fault, Old Zhao sighed. Old Master Zhao sighed. He wasn't an unreasonable person. When Lei Daming helped the Zhao family make money in East Ocean City and got into trouble, the Zhao family naturally had to support him. However, he didn't expect that Han Xiaopa would become a follower of the Zhao family instead of helping the outsiders. Lin Yi was in the room, so Han Xiaopa's appearance wasn't anything strange. They just placed Han Xiaopa in the wrong place, which led to the current situation. Master, I was wrong. Lei Daming knew that he was the cause of this, and if old Zhao didn't blame Zhao Qibing, would it mean that he was the one to blame? And so, Lei Daming knelt on the ground with a thud. Lei Daming, you get up. This isn't your fault, but you have offended Lin Yi. It's not suitable for you to mingle in Donghai City anymore. Old Master Zhao waved his hand and said, I will arrange for you to go to the nearby Jiduan city. It is a small city without many family forces. After you go there, use the name of our Zhao family to develop well. Thank you, Elder Zhao. Lei Daming was both surprised and happy. Although going to a remote small city was tantamount to being banished by the Zhao clan, he was not held accountable. This was already a great blessing. This made Lei Daming immediately heave a sigh of relief. Qibing, Guangyin, you guys stop for a while. As for that seafood restaurant, if Lin Yi wants it, just give it to him. Old man Zhao said lightly. If Lin Yi continues to cause trouble like this, sooner or later, someone will find him an eyesore and come to deal with him. In our hidden Zhao family, I am the only heaven-ranked expert. My realm is not stable yet. Try not to clash with him. I understand. Qibing and Guangyin replied quickly. Let's spread the news that Lin Yi injured Elder Bai in one move. And let the hidden houses feel a sense of danger. Once they realize that something's wrong, they'll attack him. Elder Zhao wanted to use someone else to do his dirty work. Yes. Guangyin nodded. Old man Zhao didn't say anything else. He turned and walked to Qikuan's room. Whether or not Elder Bai could recover depended on Qikuan. Qikuan. Old man Zhao pushed the door open and walked in. Qikuan's room was guarded, but old man Zhao was the head of the hidden house, so he could go in and out. Guangyin, on the other hand, didn't have that power. Grandpa! Qikuan stood up abruptly from his chair and turned around, looking at old man Zhao with excitement and reluctance in his eyes. Seeing his grandson's eyes, old man Zhao's heart ached. Qibing had done the most for the house, and he was Guangyin's son, but Qikuan was still his grandson. Qikuan's father had died young, and Qikuan's position in the house wasn't high. His strength had always been ahead, and he had participated in the Ice Palace's test. But because of that, he had become Qibing's obstacle. It would be a lie to say that Qikuan had no ambition. A soldier who didn't want to be a general wasn't a good soldier. He, Qikuan, dreamed of becoming the head of the hidden house. Before Qibing's appearance, he didn't have a high position in the house, but with his exceptional strength, he had entered the eyes of Elder Zhao. Most importantly, one of the core members of the house, Elder Bai, hadn't expressed his support for any of the third generation. Guangyin's son was very mischievous, and old man Zhao didn't like him. Elder Bai's disgust was written all over his face. If it weren't for the fact that he was Yu Xiaojin's son, old man Zhao would never have chosen him as the heir. So, Qikuan still had a chance. But Qibing's appearance had broken the balance. A bastard son who did all sorts of evil things had somehow gotten the support of old man Zhao and Elder Bai. How could Qikuan accept this? Why? Losing to Guangyin's son was something he could accept, but losing to Qibing? He couldn't accept it. Haze. Old Zhao sighed. In fact, he had a certain level of understanding of Qibing's capabilities after all this time. He was starting to feel disappointed. But Qibing was the hero of House Zhao. He had to keep his word. Qikuan, on the other hand, had no support in House Zhao. Old man Zhao believed that unless Qikuan was as strong as him or Elder Bai, even if he became the heir, he wouldn't be able to control the situation. House Zhao would fall apart, and the consequences would be even worse. Grandpa, I know that me contacting Lin Yi is a big taboo for House Zhao. Lin Yi is House Zhao's enemy. I should be fighting against him. Qikuan smiled bitterly before continuing. But Grandpa, I can't accept this Qibing. What right does he have? Someone whose legs Lin Yi broke countless times. How can he be the heir of House Zhao? Qikuan, there are some things you don't know. Old man Zhao sighed. The reason why I could break through to Sky Class was because of the Qi gathering pill Qibing brought back. One could say that Qibing is a huge project for House Zhao. Breaking through to Sky Class means an unlimited extension of my lifespan, and this means a lot to House Zhao, so I have to support Qibing. Even if he's weak, I have to do this. I can't disappoint the disciples who work for House Zhao. What? Qikuan's eyes widened in disbelief. Zhao Qibing? He brought a qi gathering pill? Chapter 2347. That's right. Old Zhao nodded. He knew that this was a little unfair to Qikuan, but that was just how things were. As the head of the house, he had to look out for the interests of the house, and he had to be fair. He couldn't let the members of the house think that it was unfair. So he didn't hide anything and told Qikuan about how Qibing got the qi-gathering pill from the hidden house. Qikuan heard the old man's words and went silent. The dissatisfaction and confusion in his heart vanished in an instant, and he could only sigh at Qibing's luck. Yes, with Qibing's achievements, how could he compete with him? Qikuan smiled bitterly. I understand now, so that's how it is. Ha! It seems like no matter how hard I work, I won't be able to become the head of the house. It's good that you understand. Old Zhao nodded. If you keep working with Lin, you'll die. But that Linny kid, he's been asking about you recently. It seems like he trusts you quite a bit. You'll let me go if I don't go to Linny? When Qibing grows up, I'll be the first one he'll target, won't he? Qikuan shook his head, seeing everything clearly. Grandpa, I know you don't like me because my mom was a village girl. My dad died young because of my mom, and now you're putting all that hate on me and my mom. My mom was kicked back to the village by you, and I in House Zhao, if it weren't for my hard work, I'd have lost my position a long time ago, wouldn't I? Old Zhao's face changed. Qikuan's words hit him squarely. Qikuan was his grandson, but because of everything that had happened before, he didn't really like him. I was right, wasn't I? Qikuan smiled. At first, I thought that with my hard work, I could change your mind and accept me, but ever since Qibing appeared, I realized that it was impossible. I didn't want to accept Linny as my boss because he's really strong, and I wanted a backer to take back everything that belonged to me. Don't be stubborn. Old Master Zhao sighed and said. Stubborn? So what? Grandpa, tell me the truth, are you here to kill me? Qikuan asked faintly, as if he had already expected this result. Your life and death are in your own hands. Old Master Zhao said. If you die in the trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect, you will die. If you don't die and get the Heavenly Elixir sect's reward, I can promise you that you'll become someone like Elder Bai or Elder Xie of the Zhao family. The trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect? Do you think I can come back? Qikuan heard the words and was extremely disappointed. All these years there have been people from hidden houses, sects, and even ancient sects and ancient houses, as well as foreign powers. But every time, how many come back alive? That's why I said life and death are in your hands. Old Man Zhao said. Before, Guangyin's suggestion was to kill you. Ha! If I remember correctly, the winner of the Sky Elixir School's test will be rewarded with a 3rd-level elixir. And the Qi Gathering Pill is a 3rd-level elixir. If I take it back, then why would I still be under Zhao Qibing and be an elder? Qikuan raised his head. It's the same level 3 pill, but he, a bastard, can become the heir, and I, a child born and raised in House Zhao, can only be an elder? Elder Bai's injured, and he needs a Dahuan pill. You go not for the Qi Gathering Pill. Old Zhao sighed. Ha! Is there a difference? Qikuan was very disappointed in Old Zhao. It's the same level 3 pill. It's not that I don't want the Qi Gathering Pill. It's you who told me to get the Dahuan pill. The matter has been decided, you can make your own choice. Old Man Zhao said. Ha! Qikuan's eyes flashed with viciousness. He was his own grandfather. He didn't even care about him as much as Lin Yi, a boss who wasn't related to him. He knew that Lin Yi wasn't looking for information on House Zhao, but to fulfill the benefits he gave him, or to realize that he couldn't contact him anymore. That was why Lin Yi was acting like this. With that thought, Qikuan accepted it and said faintly, All right, I'll participate. Old Zhao nodded and walked out of the room, but a strange light flashed in his eyes. Lin Yi had to die. With him here, Qikuan might be able to make a comeback. He could see the decision in Qikuan's eyes. And so, after leaving Qikuan's room, Old Zhao called Old Yu of the hidden house Yu. Kissing Chun. This was the first phone call Old Master Zhao made after the two families fell out. Humph, Old Zhao, you still have the nerve to call? Old Yu humphed coldly, but it had been a while now, and his anger had mostly dissipated. He didn't hang up right away. Elder Yu, that's in the past. If we keep fighting, wouldn't we be a joke? Plus the hidden house Zhao didn't take it. Yu Huixing was the one who gave it to us. If it were your hidden house, wouldn't you take it? Old Zhao asked. Humph. Elder Yu humphed, but he understood that house Yu would have to do the same thing if it was their turn. Tell me, what's your purpose in calling me? Elder Yu asked. What's your purpose? Elder Bai was crippled, one move. Old Zhao said. Elder Bai? Was he crippled by someone? Old Yu paused. I say, Old Zhao, you're not saying this because you want us to avenge you, are you? What does this have to do with us? The one who injured Elder Bai was Lin Yi. Old Zhao continued. Lin Yi? Elder Yu frowned and went into deep thought. His heart was in turmoil. He had to admit that Lin Yi was strong, but he didn't expect him to be this strong. Able to cripple Elder Bai with one move. Elder Bai was an Earth-class late-phase peak, only half a step away from Sky-class. How could someone like that be crippled by Lin Yi with one move? Thinking about how strong Lin Yi was, Old Yu felt conflicted. On one hand, he wanted to see if he could rope Lin Yi in and use Lin Yi to soar. On the other hand, he thought about the place behind him, keeping Yu Ning a virgin and accepting a very important position. He knew that this was a dead end. Chapter 2348. Most importantly, Yu Ning couldn't be with Lin Yi anymore. By that time, Lin Yi would definitely become House Yu's enemy. Thinking of this, Elder Yu was a little depressed. Last time at the Hidden House Summit, it was a great opportunity to kill Lin Yi, but now that he lost it, it wouldn't be that easy to kill Lin Yi anymore. Elder Yu, I know a thing or two about Lin Yi and your House Yu. With Yu Ning here, your House Yu and Lin Yi will have to fight. Elder Zhao said. Some things can't be avoided. For his woman, Lin Yi destroyed Qibing's skyscraper, broke Qibing's legs, and for his woman, he went to the Ice Palace to ask for medicine. For his men, how many people did Lin Yi kill? Unless you give Yu Ning to him, otherwise your House Yu will become Lin Yi's enemy. Elder Zhao and Elder Yu were in-laws, and he knew a lot of things about House Yu. For example, the relationship between Lin Yi and Yu Ning. Others didn't know, but Elder Zhao knew. What do you mean? You want to use our hidden House Yu to avenge your hidden house Zhao? As much as Elder Yu thought about it, he still felt that getting rid of Lin Yi was more important, but he still couldn't make up his mind. Especially after knowing that the Qi gathering pill was taken by House Zhao. Elder Yu didn't hate Lin Yi as much as before. To kill him or not to kill him, it's up to you, Elder Yu. I won't say anything else. Elder Zhao was a smart man, and he knew that some things should be stopped. Alright, I won't disturb Elder Yu's rest anymore. One word, one should make a decision. Elder Yu put down the phone and fell into deep contemplation. It wasn't that he hadn't thought about killing Lin Yi before. It wasn't that he hadn't tried it before, but it never worked. As he was thinking, the phone rang again, and Elder Yu thought that it was still Elder Zhao. But when he saw the number on the phone, his eyes narrowed and his pupils dilated. He picked up the phone quickly and said carefully, Hello, I'm the head of House Yu Yuxing. Alright, Rainy Day. Master asked me to inform you that the original plan is temporarily cancelled. The person on the other side of the phone didn't show any respect just because it was Elder Yu who answered the phone. Instead, he spoke in a commanding tone. Cancel? Ah? Elder Yu paused, confused. What plan? It means that the matter of letting Yu Ning participate in the Heavenly Elixir sex trial has been cancelled. The other party saw that Elder Yu didn't react, so he said directly. Cancelled? Didn't they say that he would pass this trial and receive the inheritance? Why is it cancelled again? Elder Yu's heart skipped a beat. This was a big chance for House Yu to rise up. As long as Yu Ning accepted the water inheritance and became the inheritor, House Yu would become a family that could rise up to the heavens. Their status would definitely surpass the hidden houses, and it would only be a matter of time before they became an ancient house. But now the person from that place called and said that the plan was cancelled. How could Elder Yu accept this? If it were any other time, Elder Yu wouldn't dare ask about it, and he would do whatever the person from that place told him to do. But this time was different. This was related to the rise of House Yu. This was a big plan that had been planned since Elder Yu's father's generation, when he failed to pass down the inheritance. How could it be cancelled just like that? Because of the sudden change in the plan. The trial this time is too dangerous, and Yuning has other arrangements. She can't take the risk to accept the inheritance, and the inheritor this time is someone else. The person on the other side of the phone hesitated and explained. After all, they had a relationship with House Sai for decades, ever since Elder Yu's father brought the young Elder Yu to travel around the world, and they had a relationship with each other. It could be said that the hidden House Yu was their representative in the hidden world. Water inheritor as well? Elder Yu froze and his heart was bleeding. No, the person said clearly. Don't think too much, it's different from normal water inheritors. I can only tell you the general plan, and it's not good for you to know too much about it. Yuning's matter has other arrangements, and Master has already found a way to explore the endless West Sea, where the ancient water inheritance originated from. We are preparing to send Yuning there. Since it's not a water inheritance, why would they give up on what's close at hand? There's no conflict. Elder Yu breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time he was confused. Because of some unexpected events, the rules of this trial have been changed. The person didn't hide anything. The other party didn't hide anything. This time, the trial conditions have been changed from mystic rank to earth rank. There's no upper limit. What? Mystic and above with no upper limit? If an earth class and above went there, wouldn't they? Elder Yu was startled, jumping up in fright. Yu is fine, but there are some things that you need to understand. Don't tell anyone else. The person said with a warning tone. You should understand now, we didn't let Yuning come for her safety. This trial is too dangerous, and if she comes here with her strength, she will die for sure. And this trial is for something else, and Yuning is very important, so it's better to go to the endless West Sea. I understand. Elder Yu was shocked, but he suppressed his doubts and nodded. I know what to do. And protect Yuning and Yu. Don't let anything happen to them. The person warned. Also, Master specifically told you to keep your virginity. You can't lose your virginity or else you know the consequences. Yes. Please don't worry, Elder Xianchen. Tianqing will not let you down. Elder Yu said in fear. Alright, that's all. The person hung up the phone. Elder Yu, on the other hand, was holding onto the phone, unable to calm down for a long time. House Yu almost missed the opportunity to rise, but now it seemed like the result was good. Since Elder Xianchen reminded him to keep Yuning a virgin, it meant that they still needed Yuning, and they needed to go to the even more powerful source of water, the endless West Sea, to receive the inheritance. Thinking of this, Elder Yu let out a sigh of relief. Chapter 2349. This call made Old Yu experience the complicated feelings of losing and regaining, so he made up his mind to get rid of all unstable factors. He couldn't let Linyi hinder the rise of House Yu. If Linyi really took Yuning away, then it would be too late for regrets. That place. The Xianchen ancestor's face was a bit gloomy as he quietly looked at Tagan Long, who was lying on the bed with his eyes closed. His emotions were very complicated and irritated. Master! A voice broke the silence. Shaoyi, you're back. The Xianchen ancestor raised his head and asked faintly, how's it going? The backup plan is ready to be executed. The Sky Elixir sect has already talked to Tiandi and changed the rules of the test, Shaoyi said calmly. Little E said calmly, as for the hidden House Yu, I'll inform you of Master's intentions. Okay. The Xianchen ancestor nodded. Once the backup plan is activated, we'll have to waste a lot of energy and effort, and we might not be able to succeed. Is there any news on the culprit who injured Tagan Long? We can confirm that it's not Zhang Naipeo. Shaoyi said. First, the everyday sect doesn't need to lie to us. We're in a cooperative relationship. Second, Zhang Naipeo's practitioner's arts aren't focused on hurting people, but on absorbing qi. Forget it, let's put this aside for now. Patriarch Xianchen also knew that the possibility of finding the culprit wasn't high, especially since he didn't know which country the culprit was from. It was even more difficult. Therefore, Patriarch Xianchen continued, focus on the backup plan for now. Then regarding Tagan Long's recovery, Shaoyi asked. His injuries are too heavy, and third-level pills are useless. He doesn't have any strength or skills for now. When your master comes out, I'll think of a way with him. The Xianchen ancestor said. Yes, master. Shaoyi nodded. Zhao Qibing didn't expect to receive a call from Han Xiaopa. However, he didn't dare to reject Han Xiaopa's call. He just offended Lin Yi today. Who knew if Han Xiaopa's call was on behalf of Lin Yi? So Zhao Qibing didn't dare to delay at all. He picked up the phone carefully. Master Pa, why did you call your little brother? Master Bing, do you have time? Do you want to come out for a cup of coffee and chat? Han Xiaopa asked directly. Young Master Pa, it's so late. What's the matter? Zhao Qibing paused. He didn't know why Han Xiaopa was looking for him, but it wasn't to treat him to coffee. You'll know when you get here. I just want to talk to you about the trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect, Han Xiaopa said. Of course, this is what Boss Lin Yi wants. Okay, tell me the location. I'll go there right now. Qibing breathed out in relief after hearing Han Xiaopa's words. It was fine as long as he wasn't looking for trouble. As for understanding the Sky Elixir School's test, that wasn't a problem. Qibing knew that Lin Yi had participated in the Ice Palace's test before, and had passed it without a hitch, so it made sense that Lin Yi would be interested in it. But the Hidden House Han hadn't participated in the Sky Elixir Sect's test before, so naturally, he had to find the Hidden House Zhao to understand the situation. In fact, Zhao Qibing hadn't participated in it before, but because he had to send Zhao Qikuan there, he had asked Elder Bai and Guangyin about the Sky Elixir Sect's test a few days ago, so he was quite confident in answering Han Xiaopa and Lin Yi's questions. All right, I'll see you in half an hour at Dazzling Coffee Shop, Han Xiaopa said. No problem, Zhao Qibing replied. After hanging up, Zhao Qibing told his grandpa that he was leaving the Hidden House Zhao. Old Zhao didn't have any qualms about Zhao Qibing going to see Han Xiaopa. At a time like this, it was best not to piss off Han Xiaopa and Lin Yi. At least, the Hidden House Zhao didn't have the confidence to deal with Lin Yi at the moment. He didn't know what the Hidden House Yi was thinking, but old Zhao wouldn't provoke Lin Yi unless he had the confidence to win. Half an hour later, at the entrance of Dazzling Coffee Shop, Zhao Qibing saw Han Xiaopa's Mercedes-Benz. He was driving a Porsche Cayenne. It was a new one too. He'd given the previous one to Lin Yi. Master Pa, sorry to keep you waiting. Zhao Qibing did a good job on the surface. I've just arrived as well, Master Bing, please. Han Xiaopa nodded to him. The two entered the coffee shop, and a waiter came to greet them. No one here knew who these two young masters of the Hidden House Han and House Zhao were, but judging from the Mercedes-Benz and Porsche, they weren't normal people, so the waiter didn't dare to be rude. A private room, Han Xiaopa said to the waiter. All right, please follow me. The waiter has arranged a private room for Han Xiaopa and Zhao Qibing. Han Xiaopa, on the other hand, ordered some random things and passed the menu to Zhao Qibing. Just the same as him, Zhao Qibing didn't come here to drink coffee. He didn't care what to drink. The waiter quickly brought their drinks, and after the waiter left, Han Xiaopa spoke up. Master Bing, boss told me to come here for two things. One is about the Sky Elixir School's test, and the other is about Zhao Qikuan. Zhao Qikuan? Zhao Qibing's eyes froze. He didn't expect this question from Han Xiaopa, but then he remembered that Zhao Qikuan had already exposed his relationship with Lin Yi, and when Lin Yi asked him about it, his panicked expression told Lin Yi that something was up. That's right, do you know where he is now, Master Bing? I want to talk to him, but I can't get in touch with him. Han Xiaopa nodded. Gu Master Pa, Qikuan's matter involves my family, so I can't make the decision. How about this, I'll give Grandpa a call and ask about it, and then I'll get back to you, is that all right? Zhao Qibing thought about it and said, Sure. Han Xiaopa answered quickly. Zhao Qibing nodded and smiled gratefully. He walked to the end of the corridor and quickly dialed his grandpa's number. Qibing, how is it? Did you see Han Xiaopa? What did he say to you? Old Zhao saw that it was Zhao Qibing calling and quickly picked it up. Chapter 2350. I see. Han Xiaopa nodded, thinking that Qibing's words made sense, but it was a little weird. Plus, Grandpa is the head of the house, how could he participate? My father is the young master of the house, naturally. He can't go himself, Qibing said, seeing that Han Xiaopa didn't believe him. We were planning on letting Elder Bai go with Zhao Qikuan, but unfortunately, Elder Bai was injured by Lin Yi boss, and he missed the chance to participate in the Sky Elixir School. It's a huge loss for us, House Zhao. I see. This time Han Xiaopa believed Qibing's words. If Elder Bai went, then it would be normal. He didn't believe that House Zhao would let go of a chance to get a third-level elixir. Otherwise, the Hidden House Zhao wouldn't have become enemies with the Hidden House Yu just because of a third-level qi-gathering pill. Yeah, that's basically all I know. This isn't on the list, Qibing said. As for the rest, I don't know. After all, it's not easy to get this much information. Alright, thank you, Master Bing. Han Xiaopa got the answer he wanted, and he wasn't in the mood to drink coffees. He needed to report to Lin Yi. You're welcome. Qibing waved his hand. Right, Lin Yi boss is participating in the Sky Elixir School's test. Should be. Han Xiaopa didn't deny it. Oh? If that's the case, if boss Lin Yi could help us take care of Qikuan during the test, we'd be eternally grateful. Qibing said after thinking for a bit. His intentions were very sinister. Zhao Qikuan was very weak. He was only mystic, not even earth class. If Lin Yi brought him along, it'd be very dangerous. Even if Lin Yi had the chance to complete the test, he'd be dragged to death by Zhao Qikuan. I'll talk to the boss. As for whether he agrees or not, I can't make the decision. Han Xiaopa naturally couldn't agree directly. Then I'll trouble you, Master Pa. Qibing was very happy. With Lin Yi's personality, there was no way he'd abandon his follower. Especially after knowing that his follower was imprisoned and sent to the Sky Elixir School test. Lin Yi definitely wouldn't give up on helping Zhao Qikuan. I'm done, I'll be on my way. Han Xiaopa nodded and put down his empty cup. As for helping Zhao Qikuan, I'll talk to the boss about it. But if you guys from the Hidden House Zhao want to help, you'd better give us something in return. The boss won't be doing this for free. Qibing knew that Lin Yi was good at blackmailing people, so he didn't mind using this opportunity. Lin Yi was definitely helping Qikuan, but as far as he was concerned, House Zhao didn't know that Qikuan was Lin Yi's follower. Zhao Qibing was taken aback. Motherfucker, you're helping your follower, and you still care about our Hidden House Zhao? We can't wait for Qikuan to die. But he couldn't show his displeasure right now. He didn't want Han Xiaopa to know that House Zhao already knew about the relationship between Zhao Qikuan and Lin Yi. What if Lin Yi came to get him? Then wouldn't the plan be ruined? With that in mind, Qibing could only say, of course, I'll tell Grandpa about this. After seeing Han Xiaopa, Qibing immediately went back to the hidden house and told his grandpa about the conversation he had with Han Xiaopa, not leaving out a single word. Woo! Qibing, you did well, killing with a borrowed knife. Old Zhao nodded, but his brows were slightly furrowed. He was thinking much more than Zhao Qibing, much further than Zhao Qibing. Therefore, he also saw the drawbacks in this matter. But, oh? Grandpa, what's wrong? Is there any harm in this? Qibing paused. Guangyin, what do you think? Old Master Zhao turned to look at Guangyin and asked. Father, I don't think there's anything wrong with this. Qibing is very quick-witted, using a borrowed knife to kill Lin Yi and Zhao Qikuan. Guangyin didn't think there was anything wrong with Qibing's plan. This way, the two unstable factors of House Zhao were removed. It was killing two birds with one stone. Sigh. Old Zhao sighed as he looked at Zhao Guangyin and Zhao Qibing. He felt a little regretful. The hidden House Zhao really couldn't survive from Zhao Guangyin's generation. Although the plan wasn't a big problem, and it was a good thing from a normal point of view, but from another point of view it was an unstable factor. Seeing that the father and son were confused, old Zhao could only say it himself. Lin Yi participating in the Sky Elixir sex test might be sending Zhao Qikuan to his death. But from another point of view, Lin Yi participating in the Sky Elixir sex test, not only would he not die, but he could even protect Zhao Qikuan? This isn't impossible, because Lin Yi's strength is there for all to see. Wah! Guangyin and Qibing froze, finally understanding what old Zhao was worried about. Indeed, they didn't think of this possibility, because they were analyzing the situation according to the previous Sky Elixir sec tests. After all, most of the participants never returned, and only a small number of them could pass the test and get the rewards. There were even cases where all the participants were wiped out. As far as they were concerned, with Lin Yi and Qikuan going, with Zhao Qikuan dragging Lin Yi down, there was no doubt that Lin Yi would die. But they had overlooked one important point: Lin Yi's strength. Lin Yi was an Earth-class mid-phase, but he wasn't a normal Earth-class mid-phase. He was someone who could kill Earth-class late-phase peak in one hit. Elder Bai, who was half a step into Sky-class, was crippled by Lin Yi in one move. Unable to fight back at all. What kind of strength was that? That's right, Qibing, your grandpa was right. The two of us had overlooked the most important point. This year's test doesn't have a strength restriction like the previous ones. As long as you're mystic and above, you can participate. As an Earth class mid-phase, Lin Yi has a high chance of passing the test, and with Zhao Qikuan's relationship with Lin Yi, he might be protected by Lin Yi to pass the test. Guang Yi nodded in agreement. Chapter 2351. It's not too late to make amends. Plus, as strong as Lin Yi is, he might not be able to pass the test. Old Zhao waved his hand and smiled. According to my deductions, Lin Yi isn't weak, but the Sky Elixir sect has a lot of masters. If they sent their masters, wouldn't they be stronger than Lin Yi? If they sent their own masters to collect the items themselves, wouldn't that be easier? Why would they waste so much and use a third-level pill as a reward? That's true, then why? Guang Yi nodded, confused. Haha, I think it's because in the test, one's strength is negligible. The danger they face isn't determined by strength. For example, in front of a legendary Heavenly Dao Master, Mystic, Earth, and even Sky classes, in their eyes they're all ants. Old Zhao said. So, I think that as long as there's danger in the test, no matter how strong you are, you won't be able to escape. Those who escape by luck, it's not because they're strong, but because they're lucky. That's my deduction. That makes sense. Zhao Guangyin nodded. No wonder they limited the number of participants to between Mystic class and Earth class. I'm afraid it's because even the most powerful trial takers wouldn't be of much use. This year, the Heavenly Elixir sect lifted the limit, probably because they really need this kind of thing, so they had to increase the number of participants. Yes, so Lin Yi and Qikuan might very well die together. Old Zhao said. But it's better to be safe than sorry. What if they come back? Zhao Qikuan gets the third-level pill, and I promised him that he could become an elder of the house. This would be a threat to Qibing's position. If I'm alive, I can keep it under control, but there's the possibility that after 100 years, Zhao Qikuan's strength will increase by leaps and bounds with Lin Yi's help. At that point, Qibing would be in danger. Then what do we do? Qibing's face changed. If Zhao Qikuan really came back, then his position in the house would skyrocket. His position would be threatened. So before that, we have to do something, Old Zhao said. Old Zhao said, if we can kill Lin Yi before the test, then Zhao Qikuan will die for sure. Before the trial, kill Lin Yi? How could that be? If our Zhao family had that kind of power, we would have made a move long ago. Why would we wait until now? Zhao Guangyin asked curiously. Is Grandpa going to do it himself? Qibing paused. I naturally won't make a move. Old Master Zhao shook his head. Is that the hidden house you? Right, is the hidden house you about to make a move? Guangyin sighed and thought of this possibility. I did call Elder Yu, but his attitude was ambiguous. I don't know what he wants. I don't think it's possible for him to help. Old Lord Zhao waved his hand and said, I'm talking about another person. Furthermore, it's also using a borrowed knife to kill. Actually, this was also inspired by elite armament. Although I received the news before and knew about this, I didn't think too deeply about it. But now I've thought of a good method. Oh? Who's strong enough to kill Lin Yi? Guangyin was startled. He didn't expect such a strong person to exist. Southeast Asia's gambling king, Pu Huati. Old Zhao said. Southeast Asia's gambling king? What does he have to do with Lin Yi? Guangyin didn't understand what this person could do. Pu Huati has been invited to Donghai's biggest casino to fight against the gambling king Zhu Qisho from Harbor City. Of course, although he's the gambling king of Southeast Asia, he's also an ability user, and his combat ability is very high. No one knows exactly how strong he is, but what I do know is that he has an Earth-class late-phase peak as well as a dual practitioner bodyguard. With the two of them together, they should be able to beat Lin Yi. Old Zhao's eyes flashed as he spoke. But he and Lin Yi don't have anything to do with each other. Guangyin was confused. If there is no intersection, we can create an intersection. Old Zhao said. As far as I know, this Pu Huati is a lecher. Every night, he must sleep with a virgin. She can't be too old and she must be beautiful. He's very demanding. The brothels in Donghai can't satisfy his needs. Then, Guangyin still didn't understand what Old Zhao meant. But Old Zhao continued. So a few days before gambling king Zhu Qisho arrived, The person in charge of the casino gambling bro had been helping him find virgins to sleep with him at a high price. In the end, he had no choice but to kidnap them on the streets. But the first time he kidnapped them, they were targeted by the police. Not only did the kidnapping fail, but Gambling Bro's underlings were also arrested. You should know that the police have been cracking down on kidnapping cases recently. These unprofessional gangsters still dared to go against the law. They were asking for trouble. After the kidnapping failed, Pu Huati could only gamble with others in the casino every day. He forced his opponents who lost everything to use their daughters to pay off their debts, or directly forced them to use their daughters to bet. Of course, the advantage of this was that these gamblers could only accept their fate and didn't dare to call the police. But it was enough to see how lecherous Pu Huati was. He didn't even want the large sum of money he won in exchange for a night of pleasure. Then, how can we let Pu Huati and Lin Yi become enemies? Guanyin still didn't quite understand his father's meaning. It's time for that illegitimate daughter of yours to come in handy, Old Man Zhao said lightly. Illegitimate daughter? Mine? Guanyin was stunned. Isn't there another use for her to give her to? I'm not asking you to give her to Pu Huati, but to use her as bait to cause a conflict between Lin Yi and Pu Huati. Old Zhao said with a wave of his hand. Find someone to pretend to be her father and bring her to the casino to lose to Pu Huati. Then inform Lin Yi. I see. Guanyin nodded and said. But will Lin Yi care? He doesn't seem to care, does he? Lin Yi doesn't care about other people, but people who are old friends with Lin Yi, he'll always care. Old Zhao smiled coldly. He'll even care about Zhao Qikuan, let alone Chan Shi. With the relationship between Lin Yi and Chan Shi, there's no way he won't care. Chapter 2352. Reminisce? Why would he want to reminisce with Zhao Qikuan? Does he know Zhao Qikuan? Old Zhao paused, frowning. I don't think so, but I feel like it's Lin Yi's intention. Qibing said. Last time, I crashed his car in front of the movie theater, and he asked me about Zhao Qikuan. I see. It seems like Lin Yi suspects that we're doing something to Zhao Qikuan. Old Zhao nodded, remembering what Qibing had said before. He didn't pay much attention to it, but now that he was connected to Han Xiaopa, he was in a difficult position. Yeah, if I tell him the truth, what if Lin Yi asks for him straight away? Qibing said worriedly. How about this, didn't Han Xiaopa ask you about the Sky Elixir School's test? This means that he's interested in the Sky Elixir test. Old Zhao was indeed a shrewd man, quickly coming up with a solution. This way you tell him the truth, that Zhao Qikuan is going to represent our hidden house Zhao to participate in the Sky Elixir School's test. And that's why he's in seclusion and has no contact with the outside world. Oh. Qibing paused, understanding what his grandpa meant. This way, when Lin Yi hears that Zhao Qikuan is going to participate in the test, he'll be even more determined to go himself. This test is basically a one-way trip and Lin Yi will die there. We've achieved our goal of killing him with a borrowed knife. Not bad, Qibing, you've become very smart now. Old Man Zhao nodded in relief. This is also the reason why I sent you to see Han Xiaopa without any hesitation after hearing what you said just now. If Lin Yi wants to know about the Sky Elixir School's test, tell him more. It's best if he participates in the test and dies. I understand, Grandpa. I'll try my best to tell you more about the benefits of the test. Qibing quickly said after he thought it through. That won't do either. Han Xiaopa isn't a fool. Although the hidden Han family has never participated in the Heavenly Elixir sex trial, they have heard about the dangers of the trial. You can't just say it's good. While you're saying it's good, you have to objectively explain the dangers. Of course, you can emphasize the benefits of the trial rewards of the Heavenly Elixir sect. Old Master Zhao reminded. Yes, Grandpa, I know what to do. Qibing nodded. He hung up and went back to his room to see Han Xiaopa sipping his coffee. How's it going, Master Bing? What's going on in your house? Han Xiaopa asked after Qibing came in. I didn't want to hide this from you, but actually, Zhao Qikuan and the Sky Elixir School's test are basically the same thing. Qibing said. The same thing? What do you mean? Han Xiaopa didn't understand. Grandpa has talked to Qikuan. He'll be representing our hidden house Zhao to participate in the Sky Elixir School's test. He's in seclusion right now, so it's normal that you can't contact him. Qibing said. I can't just say it without Grandpa's approval. Please forgive me, Master Pa. Zhao Qikuan? Participate in the Sky Elixir School's test? Han Xiaopa paused. He didn't expect this answer. This made him a little confused, but from the looks of it, it was most likely true. That's right. If it weren't for Master Pa asking, we wouldn't have said anything. After all, it's their own business. Qibing said. As for the Sky Elixir School's test, this is the situation. I won't talk about the things on the list, everyone knows about it. What I want to say is that the Heavenly Elixir School trial is a very dangerous trial. However, as for how dangerous it is, the trial takers who are lucky enough to complete the task have been ordered to keep their mouths shut. They don't dare to speak carelessly. We, the Hidden Zhao family, didn't get much information, but we have some clues. Please speak. Han Xiaopa said quickly. It said that this test is about collecting a certain amount of things in a certain place. As long as you collect enough, you can exchange it with the Sky Elixir School. Qibing said. The rules are very clear. During the test you can't kill each other and you can't steal each other's things. If anyone breaks the rules, the result will be invalid. And you'll have to face the wrath of the entire Sky Elixir School. Oh, Han Xiaopa didn't think that the test would be like this. If they couldn't kill each other, then it should be pretty simple. Why did so many people never return? With that in mind, Han Xiaopa asked. Then what if we do something in the dark and no one returns? The identity of the participants isn't public. Only the Sky Elixir sect knows about it, so there are always people from the Sky Elixir sect mixed in every batch. If they were to see it, then their family and sect would be in trouble. Qibing said. That's why it's almost impossible. I've also heard that the danger comes from the environment and the spirit beasts there, so everyone can't even protect themselves once they get there. Who would have the energy to fight among themselves? I heard that the things you need to collect aren't too hard, so there's no need for conflicts of interest. I see. Thank you, Master Bing. Han Xiaopa nodded. His understanding of the Sky Elixir School's test had deepened, but he was a little confused. But if that's the case, why don't the Sky Elixir School just send a few Sky class? Wouldn't the success rate be higher, and they wouldn't have to pay such a high price? I'm not sure about that. In the past, the test was limited to Mystic and Earth class, not including Earth class, Qibing said. But this time the rules have been changed. As long as you're above Mystic class, it's not limited to Earth class. Oh? There was a rule like this before? Han Xiaopa hadn't really studied it before, only glancing through it briefly. He didn't compare the details. Wouldn't there be a higher chance of completing the mission if they sent a Sky class? Why don't you send someone more powerful to the Hidden Zhao family? Chapter 2353. Of course, this cultivation vessel had to be given to an important person from an ancient sect at a crucial time in exchange for the right to participate in the Hidden House Zhao's plan. I understand. Guangyi nodded. I'll arrange for someone to take Chunxi away, and then I'll appear myself to talk to her mother about this and have her call Linyi for help. Yes, that's it. Old Zhao nodded. Chunxi will be fine, but Linyi will be dead for sure. Even if he doesn't die, he'll be in trouble. Pu Huatiai's background is quite deep. His father is the second head of the #1 mafia in Southeast Asia, right, Miroman? If he dies, Linyi will be in endless trouble. Haha, what a good way to kill with a borrowed knife. Qibing laughed. Grandpa, you're the best. The older, the wiser. It seems like I need to learn more. Old Zhao nodded with a smile after hearing Qibing's words. The kid was worth teaching. After parting ways with Qibing, Han Xiaopa contacted Linyi immediately, relaying everything Qibing had said to him without missing a single word. Every term has a limit. Only this term doesn't have it? Linyi frowned after hearing Qibing's words. What was the Heavenly Elixir sect doing? It was weird, but he didn't know what was weird about it either. If the test was dangerous, then wouldn't the higher the strength, the safer it would be? The higher the chance of leaving alive? Was it because the Sky Elixir School was in urgent need of that kind of stuff and had to relax the conditions? Or was there some other reason? If it was the former, then couldn't they send their own masters? Why did they have to take out a third-level elixir and treasures of the same value in exchange? Wasn't that a bit too much of a waste? No, Zhao Qibing doesn't know the reason either. He even suspects that the Sky Elixir School was negligent, Han Xiaopa said. I see. Linny nodded, but no matter what, the conditions had changed. This was beneficial to him. Otherwise, he would not be able to participate in the trial if he was still restricted like before. He was already an expert above the Earth rank. Yes, as for Zhao Qikuan, I've asked him, and this is what he said. Han Xiaopa said as he told Linny where Zhao Qikuan went. Chitan is also participating in the Heavenly Elixir Sex trial? Linny was surprised. He didn't think that the Hidden House Zhao would arrange things like this. Linny didn't really believe that Qikuan wouldn't be able to contact the outside world. But this was most likely true. But it was very likely that Qikuan wasn't willing, he was forced. Perhaps they had already discovered Qikuan's ambition, and in order for Qibing to get the position smoothly, they locked him up, wanting to use this Sky Elixir School's test to get rid of Qikuan. Otherwise, Qikuan wouldn't be able to do anything before he went into seclusion. No matter what, they should have contacted him to inform him of the situation. It was impossible for there to be no movement at all. Yes, but Zhao Qibing said something else. If you participate in the trial, you can take care of Zhao Qikuan. Han Xiaopa said. Oh. Linny paused, understanding what the Hidden House Zhao and Zhao Qibing meant. Using a borrowed knife to kill someone. Not only did they know about Qikuan's ambition, but they also knew about his relationship with Qikuan. And so, not only did they want to get rid of Zhao Qikuan, but they also wanted to use the relationship between Linny and Zhao Qikuan to get rid of Linny as well. After all, the Heavenly Elixir Sex trial was extremely dangerous. Most people didn't make it back, and if Linny were to go and take care of a mystic, he might not even be able to protect himself. What do you say? Linny asked Han Xiaopa after thinking it through. I said it. I asked you to take care of him, but you couldn't do it for free. You had to at least show some sincerity. He used the opportunity to ask for some benefits from the Hidden House Zhao, and Zhao Qibing didn't reject it, Han Xiaopa said. Well done. Linny smiled. Since I'm destined to take care of Zhao Qikuan, I'll take care of him. Then we might as well let the Zhao family spend a bit more. Yeah, boss. Should I participate in this trial as well? Han Xiaopa asked. It's too dangerous. Don't go. Linny sighed. It's already hard enough for me to protect one Zhao Qikuan. If there's another, it'll be too much for me. I understand. I won't sign up then. Han Xiaopa knew that Linny was telling the truth, but he was not angry. After all, the difference in strength between him and Linny was like heaven and earth. I have a small qi gathering pill here. I forgot to give it to you today. If you need it, you can come and get it any time. Linny said. Haha, it's fine. My family doesn't need it right now. Han Xiaopa smiled, not caring. Linny hung up and went into deep thought. One thing was for sure. This Sky Elixir Sex trial was not simple. This was also why the Hidden House Zhao wanted to use this trial to get rid of Zhao Qikuan. This test, however, was very important to Linny. The Sky Elixir sect would definitely have the rainbow steel, blue crystal powder, and pure yellow jade. The Sky Elixir sect would definitely have the rainbow steel, and perhaps the other two materials as well. So Linny had to go no matter what. Now that Qikuan was there, it gave Linny more confidence. He couldn't just ignore Qikuan's business. Of course, if it weren't for the fact that Linny wanted to get something from the trial, Linny would have gone straight to House Zhao. With his current strength, even if he couldn't beat old Zhao, he could still escape with Qikuan. Although Linny was confident that normal Earth-class late-phase peak masters were no match for him, there was always someone stronger. Even Taganlong and the 5 Guardians could make Linny lose. That was enough to explain everything. Even now, if Linny were to face the 5 Guardians and Taganlong again, he wouldn't be as weak as before. But he wouldn't be able to kill them easily. Plus, what about an unknown sky class? Chapter 2354. So when Linny crippled Elder by this time, it was just to scare the Hidden House of Zhao, and make sure they didn't cause any trouble in Donghai. But to wipe them out in one fell swoop, Linny didn't think the time was right. After all, Lin Yi's own strength was there for all to see. He was only a mid-earth class. If he wanted to kill Old Man Zhao, he needed to increase his strength a bit more. Speaking of strength, however, Lin Yi had been stuck at Earth class mid-stage for quite some time now. From the Hidden House Summit until now, Lin Yi's strength had long since stabilized and improved. Especially in the extreme battles with the 5th Protector, the Great Protector, Tagan Dragon, and the 3rd Elder, Lin Yi had already reached the peak of Earth class mid-stage. but he was still a little bit away. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Without that straw, the camel would not have fallen. He hoped that he would be able to hug Xinyan and train for a while longer before the test, raising his strength to Earth-class mid-phase peak. Even Linny felt a little dirty at the thought. Hugging a girl to train didn't seem right no matter how he looked at it. Did he want to train more? Or did he want to hug Xinyan more? Shaking his head, Linny put this thought aside for the time being. He picked up the supplementary martial skill that he had copied in the hidden Han family. Spring rain from the heavens. He flipped it open and carefully studied the mantra within. The first style could restore one person's physical strength and true qi. At present, as long as Lin Yi could successfully activate the first style, he could solve Han Jingjing's problem. But to be on the safe side, Lin Yi still memorized the first 10 chants. Lin Yi's memory was not bad to begin with. The 10 verses of the incantation were not long, and it only took him a short while. After he finished reciting, Lin Yi put down the martial skill he had copied and began to prepare to execute the first form, Spring Rain from the Heavens. Executing the first form of the martial skill was actually not difficult for Lin Yi at all. However, it was a martial skill that could only be executed by someone who possessed both the water and wood attributes. It seemed like this martial skill was not something that just anyone could learn. If a sect could raise this many water and wood attribute warriors, then the sect's scale would not be to be underestimated. One could only imagine how powerful those sects were in the ancient times. One could imagine how magnificent and powerful those sects were during the ancient times. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that there were as many experts as there were clouds in the sky. In this era, the number of heaven rank experts didn't exceed 3 digits. Once upon a time, heaven rank experts were as common as dogs. Above sky class, the legendary sky class masters were the true masters. However, with the passage of time, the natural world's spiritual energy became thinner and thinner. Let alone heaven rank, even mystic rank and earth rank were experts that only the hidden aristocratic families could have. After sighing, Lin Yi tried activating it. Of course, Lin Yi was still a little nervous. This was because this martial skill only had wood and water element. Based on the fact that he could activate the frenzied fire fist, the forest of wood's 1,000 transformations, and the fact that he could refine the space within the jade pendant, he should have 3 attributes: metal, wood and fire. But this martial skill had added a water attribute. Did he have a water attribute in his body? Lin Yi didn't believe it. Alchemists with 2 attributes were rare. Blacksmiths with 3 attributes were almost non-existent. Quadruple attribute, what kind of concept was that? But Lin Yi didn't give up. He followed the mantra of heavenly spring rain and started to circulate it in his body. He could circulate the mantra normally, but he didn't know if he could successfully activate it. Heavenly Spring Rain first form. Lin Yi followed the instructions of the martial skill and released the first form of Heavenly Spring Rain first form. But in the next moment, Lin Yi's face turned ashen. Didn't succeed. Activation failed. Lin Yi looked at his hands in disbelief. Just now Lin Yi had felt the power of the mantra. Just as he was about to send it out through his palm, he stopped abruptly. Impossible, how could this be possible? At the moment of activation, Lin Yi was sure that he could successfully activate it. After all, the mantra of the martial skill had turned the qi in his body into the power of the martial skill, and pushed it to the meridians in his palms. He was about to activate it, but the activation failed. Thinking of this, Lin Yi used the mantra of Heavenly Spring Rain again, and tried to activate it for the second time. The result was still a failure. This result made Lin Yi, who had always been successful in activating martial skills, turn pale. Previously, because he had the omnipotent martial skill, Lin Yi thought that no matter what martial skill it was, he could successfully activate it. Especially after he combined the wood forest 1,000 transformations, 5 elements 8 trigrams palm, frenzied fire fist and 5 elements 8 trigrams palm into 2 new martial skills. Lin Yi felt that he could activate any martial skill. But the current situation was a heavy blow to Lin Yi. Heavenly Spring Rain couldn't be activated. Moreover, it was a martial skill that was very useful to Lin Yi. He couldn't activate it, and this made Lin Yi depressed to the extreme. Could it be that there was no water element in his body? The omnipotent martial skill was also based on the element in the body. If there was this element in the body, he could successfully activate the martial skill. If there wasn't this element in the body, he couldn't activate it? As soon as this thought appeared, Linny knew that his guess was probably right. Sighing, Linny turned around and left the room. He didn't continue to study Heavenly Spring Rain anymore. Linny knew that he had mastered the mantra of Heavenly Spring Rain. The reason why he couldn't activate it was because of other reasons. Shield bro, you're out. Yushu saw Linny coming out of the room and jumped up from the sofa. You haven't told me a fun story yet. Linny locked himself in the room when he got home. It could be said that Linny hadn't talked to Mengyao and Yushu since he came back from Woolen Hate Mountain Range. This made Yushu a little unhappy. Shu, Linny has something important to do. He's studying martial skills. He doesn't have time to tell you stories. Mengyao pulled Shu back to the sofa and said to Linny, Linny, don't mind her. You go do what you need to do. Chapter 2355. Okay. Mengyao was happy as well. It wasn't that she didn't want to listen to Lin Yi's story, but she didn't want to interrupt Lin Yi's business. She glared at Shu. Did you hear that? Big mouth Shu? I'm talking to you. Fine, I won't tell you. Shu is a secret Shu. No one can ask her about things she doesn't want to say. Yushu said weakly. That's true. Mengyao surprisingly didn't refute this time. It was the truth. If Shu didn't want to say something, she wouldn't say it no matter how you asked her. Haha. Linny felt that this was a very warm life as he watched the sisters bicker. Every time he went out, he would think of this warm scene when he calmed down. Was this the feeling of homesickness? Was this his home? Sometimes Linny would feel like he was a part of this villa, and his feelings towards this place surpassed even West Star Village. His longing for this place was also greater than West Star Village. In West Star Village, old Lin was the only person he missed, but Linny didn't miss him at all, because in West Star Village, old Lin was invincible. This was also the reason why old Lin would tell him to go back and hide whenever he was in trouble. The reason was similar to Air Gooden, but old Lin's situation was more serious. Linny told the Miss and Shu about his trip to Wulonghout Mountain Range. It was shocking, even more so than the Ice Palace's test. The enemies were stronger, and every step was terrifying. However, there were some key things that Linny didn't tell them, such as Sun Jingyi's identity, and the secrets of the Fire Lion and Sky-class Spider, as well as the Heavenly Tao. Shu and Mengyao's jaws dropped when Linny was done. They didn't think that Lin Yi's trip this time was so dangerous. Even though Linny left out a lot of dangerous situations, the whole process was enough to scare them. Linny, why is it so dangerous? Next time, don't go with just anyone. Mengyao was starting to have some feelings for Sun Jingyi. Why did Linny have to go with her? And so dangerous. She's my good friend. Linny smiled. That won't do. What if something bad happens to you? What about me and Shu? Who's going to protect us? Eldest Mrs. Temper, which had been hidden for a long time, flared up again. I won't, Linny said. Besides, I've also gained some benefits. Yao Yao, actually, Shield Bro gets stronger every time he's in danger. We shouldn't stop him. Yushu said all of a sudden. Mengyao was a little surprised as she looked at Yushu, as if she didn't know her. Only when Shield Bro gets stronger can he protect us forever. Yushu continued. This was the first time she'd said something so profound and philosophical. She was completely different from the Shu of the past. Linny looked at Yushu surprised as well. Every time Shu told him about the journey, she'd always be laughing and joking. She'd never be this serious. However, the Miss didn't refute her. She remembered that Linny had created the Fire Bagua palm based on Taganlong's technique. He'd crippled Elder Bai in one move, so that was the truth. Linny had really gotten stronger. If it was before, Linny wouldn't have been able to cripple an Earth-class late-phase peak with one move. Shu, maybe you're right. Meo nodded and turned to Linny. Then you be careful next time. Promise me and Shu that you'll stay alive. Don't take risks. Okay. Linny smiled. Feeling the miscare, Linny felt warmth in his heart. It was just that he didn't know how to define his relationship with the Mississippi. At first, their relationship was very simple, just employer and follower, but later on, it seemed like they were more like friends. The Miss didn't order Linny around anymore. Later on, now they seemed to be good friends, but it didn't seem like it. Pure and ambiguous? But no matter what, it was a very good feeling. Shield Bro, come shopping with me in Yao Yao tomorrow. We haven't gone shopping in a long time. We don't want to go out when you're not home, Yushu said. It's been so long since I'm in college. I don't have much homework, and my weekends are even better than when I was in Songshan. Sure. Linny nodded. He had a lot of things to do these days, one after the other. From Donghai to the Hidden House Summit, he had to go to Woolenhate Mountain Range. He didn't have much time to spend with Shu in the Mississippi. Oh, Shield bro, you're the best, Yushu called out happily. Mengyao didn't say anything, but there was a flash of joy in her eyes. The night passed peacefully, and the next morning, Linny drove his big Cherokee out of the villa with Mengyao and Yushu. Next door in Han Jingjing's villa, Han Jingjing stood at the window with a wronged look on her face. She waved her fist. Linny bro, you don't even bring Jingjing out to play. What a waste of Jingjing working so hard for you. Humph. But after complaining, Han Jingjing picked up her tablet again and looked at it, but her phone rang. Han Jingjing took out her phone and looked at the caller ID. She picked it up quietly. Dad. Jingjing, how have you been? University life isn't bad, is it? It was a middle-aged man, naturally Han Jingjing's father. Still all right. It's just that the Faculty of Botanical Medicine is different from what I've come into contact with in the past. It's a different specialization, so it's a little strenuous for me to learn it, Han Jingjing said as she rubbed her aching temples. Recently she had been studying pill forging day and night, wasting countless brain cells. Haha, who told you to choose this major on the spur of the moment? Isn't it the same in economics? It's your specialty, isn't it? Mr. Han said with a smile. It's different. Anyway, I quite like this major. Han Jingjing smiled. As long as you like it. Mr. Han nodded and didn't say anything else. Yeah, it's my own choice. You don't have to worry, Dad. Han Jingjing said. Do I have to worry? You don't have to worry about our family, Mr. Han smiled. Right, how's little Chow? Chapter 2356. If Linny or someone who knew Han Jingjing were here, they'd be very surprised. Wasn't Han Jingjing a nerd as well? But the Han Jingjing right now was very normal, not cute at all. Yeah, I'll be counting on you for Lil Chow, Mr. Han said. Alright, that's enough. I have a business to discuss here, and those ingredients you asked me to find are too hard to find. As for rainbow steel, blue crystal powder, and pure yellow jade, I've never even heard of them. Don't worry, take your time. It'd be best if you can find them. I want to give him a surprise, Han Jingjing said. I'll try my best. That's enough, I'm hanging up now. Mr. Han hung up naturally. Han Jingjing put down the phone and picked up her tablet, returning to her nerd self. Donghai was a provincial city, and the business streets were completely different from Songshan's. It was more prosperous here and more orderly. There was a dazzling array of shops on the side of the street, and there were all sorts of international and domestic brand stores. There were all sorts of luxury cars in the parking lot as well, and Linny's Grand Cherokee wasn't that eye-catching in comparison. An Audi TT parked nearby, and Linny was in a bit of a trance. It was as if he was back in Songshan when he went out with Yao Yao and Shu and met Xiao Xiao for the first time. But the driver of the Audi TT was a fat woman, and that shattered Linny's fantasy. Shaking his head, Linny felt troubled. Xiao Xiao. He'd thought that after learning Sky Rain, she'd be able to help Han Jingjing with pill refinement. But it seemed like that dream was shattered. When would she be able to make a third-level pill? It seemed like the only way was to break through to Sky Class and get Han Jingjing to Earth Class late phase peak, and then find a chi-gathering pill for her. That was the only way. But there was still a long way to go before he could reach the heaven rank, and chi-gathering pills weren't easy to find. The Sky Elixir sex test made Linny hesitate. He'd wanted rainbow steel, blue crystal powder, and pure yellow jade, but a chi-gathering pill seemed to be more worth it. Linny was caught in a dilemma and had a headache. In fact, the Miss and Shu enjoyed the process of shopping. They didn't need to buy anything, especially after they entered university. Mengyao and Yushu were even more low-key. Although they were named as the prettiest girls in the school, they didn't fight for the limelight. They didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble for Lin Yi. After all, there were more people in the university. They came from all over the world and had all kinds of backgrounds. It was different from when they were in Songshan City. They didn't have to worry too much about the private high school under Pingzhan Industries. Kidnap. Help. happened in an instant. After the fat woman was stuffed into the Mercedes-Benz van, the big man followed, and the van drove away. Lenny frowned. He could stop them if he wanted to, but Lenny didn't. He didn't know the fat woman, and they had nothing to do with each other. Secondly, he was accompanying the Miss and Shu for shopping. He wouldn't let something like this get in his way. Lenny wasn't a warm-hearted person. He only looked at the leaving Mercedes-Benz van and didn't pay much attention to it. Why is this black van the same as the one that kidnapped Xinyan? They both don't have a license plate and the same model? Yushu said, surprised. Could it be the same group of people? Meng Yao noticed this as well. It looks like a Mercedes-Benz B200. Their modus operandi is quite similar. Oh. Lenny paused. He hadn't asked Chantian and Elder Pai about Xinyan's kidnapping since he got back, but he didn't think that the kidnapping in the downtown area would be related to Xinyan's case. This made it even more likely that it was a coincidence. After all, Lenny didn't know the fat woman at all, and Lenny wasn't familiar with the kidnapping method either. Let's go. This has nothing to do with us, Lenny said faintly to the Miss and Shu. Meng Yao and Yushu didn't want to stick their noses in other people's business, and they nodded. They were about to leave when a patrol officer ran over to them, yelling at Lenny and the others. Everyone, don't leave yet. You're all eyewitnesses, can you please give us a statement? Lenny didn't think there was much point in giving a statement, but he had no choice. He stopped with Meng Yao and Yushu. After that, the two asked Lenny and the others about the kidnapping. Everyone's story was pretty much the same. A black Mercedes-Benz B200 without a license plate kidnapped the fat woman from the Audi TT. As for the other details, no one paid attention to themselves. They were all too shocked by what they just witnessed. But then, a cheetah SUV sped over and stopped at the scene. Ling Shan and Lu Wangli got out of the car, looking very serious. Captain Song. The two patrolling officers saluted and handed the statement to Ling Shan. What's the situation? Are there any similarities to the previous cases? Ling Shan instinctively thought of the previous kidnapping cases when she heard the word kidnapping. More or less, it's a black Mercedes-Benz B200 without a license plate. One of the patrolling officers said. But this time it wasn't near the university city. So we can't rule out the possibility of someone using the same car to commit the crime. Yeah. Ling Shan nodded. It was true, after the previous kidnapping cases a lot of people knew about the car. If someone were to use the same car, it might confuse the police. Did you find out the hostage's identity? Ling Shan asked. We've checked the car number, but we haven't gotten any results yet. We're still interrogating the eyewitnesses. The patrolling officer said. Chapter 2357. It wasn't that Ling Shan hadn't thought about asking Lenny for help, but Lenny had gone out a while ago, and she knew about it from Xinyan's case. That was why she didn't contact Lenny. Now that Lenny was back, naturally she wouldn't let him go. She'd been worrying about the case recently, so why wouldn't she ask Lenny about it? Lenny. Ling Shan walked over quickly. Lenny rubbed his nose and smiled bitterly. It seemed that the more he didn't want to be a busybody, the busybodies found their way to him, and he had no choice but to do it. Ling Shan, what a coincidence. Lenny said helplessly. Coincidence? You didn't contact me when you came back? Ling Shan wasn't very happy, especially when she saw Lenny bringing the Miss and Shu out shopping. I didn't have the time, but I was going to contact you. Lenny wasn't lying to Ling Shan. He had a qi gathering pill in his hand, and he wanted to give one to Ling Shan. He couldn't just give Chen Tian everything and not Ling Shan. Really? Ling Shan looked at the Miss and Shu, noticing that they weren't hostile. Her relationship with Meng Yao and Yushu had improved quite a bit, and they weren't as bad as before. Really? Lenny nodded. But you should get back to business first. Ling Shan nodded and asked, do you have any suspects? I just came back and it's only the third day. Where would I get a suspect? Lenny smiled bitterly. I see. Ling Shan sighed, a little disappointed, but she knew that it was reasonable. After all, Lenny had just come back, and he didn't know much about the situation. She didn't ask, all right, you guys go shopping first. We'll talk later. Yeah, go do what you need to do. Lenny nodded before leaving with Meng Yao and Yushu. Ling Shan was a little disappointed, but she still went through the notes patiently. After that, the documents of the hostages were sent to her. Lei Xiling was the daughter of Lei Daming, the president of the Donghai Chamber of Commerce. She was a fourth-year student at the Business College of Donghai Foreign Studies. She drove an Audi TT sports car and was probably here to shop. Lingshan's heart skipped a beat. Another student? Moreover, it was the daughter of a wealthy businessman. This was similar to the previous cases. It seemed that the other party was after money. Lingshan had no choice but to contact Lei Daming. Lei Daming was hiding in the Zhao family and packing his luggage. He was ready to go to Jiduan City to start a new business career. Suddenly, his mobile phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. "Hello, I'm Lei Daming." Lei Daming didn't dare to refuse. He was afraid that it was Lin Yi. "Lei Daming? I'm Song Lingshan from Donghai's criminal investigation team. Your daughter was just kidnapped on the commercial street. Can you come to Songshan's police station?" Lingshan asked. "What? My daughter was kidnapped?" Lei Daming froze. He didn't dare believe it. Although Lei Daming knew about the kidnapping cases in Donghai, he never thought that someone would dare kidnap his daughter. After all, his identity was there. Of course, it wasn't the president of the Donghai Chamber of Commerce, but the representative of the hidden house Zhao. After all, the kidnappers dared to kidnap the daughter of a mafia boss. Naturally, they wouldn't be afraid of him, the president of a chamber of commerce. However, he didn't believe that anyone would dare to mess with the hidden house Zhao. His identity and background weren't a secret, and the kidnappers would naturally investigate his background before kidnapping him. Yes, it should be done by the same group of suspects as the previous kidnapping cases. "That's why I need you to come," Lingshan said. "Wait, I'll be right there." Lei Daming was troubled. He had just lost his power and his daughter was kidnapped? This was too much of a scam. It was really an unlucky year. However, before Lei Daming could drive to the Donghai police station, the kidnapper's phone call came first. "Lei Daming." A voice changer came from the other side of the phone. "You? Who are you?" Lei Daming was shocked. He could vaguely guess what was going on. "Prepare 20 million or don't blame us," the person said coldly. "Don't doubt our reputation. You should have heard of the previous kidnapping cases. Of course, if you don't cooperate, we'll kill you." "Wait, I don't have 20 million. Lei Daming said bitterly. "You don't? You're the president of Donghai Chamber of Commerce, and you have so many businesses under you. You don't even have 20 million? Who are you kidding?" The person heard Lei Daming's words and became impatient. He humped coldly. "If you don't want anything to happen, hand over the money. Don't think that I don't know your background. You're a dog of the hidden house Zhao? How could you not have 20 million? Lei Daming didn't expect them to find out about his hidden identity. It seemed that the kidnappers didn't care about his identity at all. However, he wanted to cry. "I'm no longer the president of Donghai Chamber of Commerce. I've been fired. The hidden house Zhao doesn't need me anymore. I don't have any money now. I don't care. Release her when you see the money. Kill her within 24 hours. The person humped coldly and hung up. Lei Daming didn't know what to do. He wanted to ask for help from the hidden house Zhao, but he remembered that he'd offended Lin Yi before. The hidden house Zhao probably wouldn't help him, and it was obvious that the kidnappers weren't afraid of the hidden house Zhao. Thinking back to how the gambling bro's daughter's golden class bodyguard was crippled in one hit, it seemed that the kidnappers were quite powerful. But no matter what, Lei Daming still headed to the police station first. On the way, he thought about how he should ask the hidden house Zhao for help. After parting ways with Lingshan, Lin Yi brought Mengyao and Yushu to a shopping mall nearby. They shopped for the whole morning but didn't buy anything. The three of them had lunch at a restaurant in the mall. Mengyao was drinking her soup after dinner, while Yushu was looking at Lin Yi with those big eyes of hers, as if she wanted to say something but didn't know what to say. "What do you want?" Lin Yi asked. "I heard that there's a casino in the basement of this mall. I've never been to a casino before. Shield bro, can you bring me and Yao Yao to see it?" Yushu said pitifully. "Casino?" Lin Yi blinked. He didn't expect there to be a casino in the basement of this mall. Chapter 2359. Compared to the stuffy atmosphere in the warehouse, the central air conditioning here was very comfortable, and the waiters in red uniforms were warm and attentive, welcoming every guest. The dealer in green uniform walked back and forth in the casino. It was very lively. The scale of this place surprised Lin Yi. Because of his previous missions, Lin Yi had been to many casinos, but the scale of the casino here was definitely not small. Although it wasn't comparable to casinos like Macau and Las Vegas, it was still one of the best in the underground casinos. 3 distinguished guests, please exchange your chips over here. The man in the black suit gestured, indicating that Lin Yi and the others could exchange their chips at the bar. Okay. Lin Yi nodded and said, "Thank you. I wish the 3 of you have a good time and a fruitful return." The man in the black suit smiled slightly and went back to his own business. Of course, the fruitful return, he said, was just for show. There were very few people who actually won money in the casino, almost none. Don't exchange too much, just play around, Lin Yi said to Yushu. Oh, then let's exchange for 100,000. Yushu thought about it and said. Lin Yi nodded. Although 100,000 wasn't a small amount, it was really nothing to Meng Yao and Lin Yi. Peng Zhan gave them more than this amount of pocket money every month. Yushu went to the bar to exchange chips and came back with a big pile of chips worth 1,000. She was a little excited. Yao Yao sis, shield bro, what do you want to play? I don't want to play. Lin Yi knew that gambling was a scam. He had no interest in gambling at all. You play, I'll just watch. I don't know how to play. Meng Yao had never touched these things before. She came here only out of curiosity, no other intentions. Okay. Yushu didn't hold back. She looked around the entertainment facilities on the first floor and said, let's go play slot machines. This is easy and fun. The full name of the slot machine was the slot machine. It was a kind of gambling machine that could often be seen in casinos. There were even entertainment places that specialized in playing corner machines. It was very common. It could be said that almost every casino had this kind of machine. The gameplay was also very simple. You just had to put the pieces, chips, into the machine and then different patterns would randomly appear. If the time stopped, and if the same or specific patterns appeared, you would win based on the odds. This machine. It was also called the fruit machine or the 777, and was popular among gamblers because of its simplicity. Yushu didn't know much about other machines, and so naturally, she'd locked onto this machine first. Then let's go take a look. Lin Yi and Meng Yao followed Yushu to a wall full of slot machines. There were a lot of people here, but there were still some empty slots. Yushu found a random machine and started operating it. This thing was easy to learn and even newbies could play with it. Yushu played with it for a while. After losing a few thousand yuan in chips, she learned how to operate it. Of course, you could also ask the dealer for help, but Yushu preferred to do her own research. Meng Yao was just looking at the novelty, and Lin Yi had nothing to do. He had to admit that the scale of the place was on point, and it didn't look like those simple and crude underground casinos at all. From the number of security guards, the service of the waiters, and the level of professionalism of the dealer, one could tell that the employees in this casino had definitely gone to a proper casino for training. To be able to open a casino like this, the identity of the owner was definitely not simple. He was probably some big boss of Donghai's underworld, but Lin Yi didn't want to cause trouble. When it came to gambling, one was willing to fight, and the other was willing to suffer. As long as they didn't cheat, Lin Yi didn't want to be Spider-Man. Yushu played for a while and there were wins and losses. But at this time, Yushu's intelligence and ability to discover Shu stood out. She started researching the rules of the slot machines. In fact, as long as it was a computer-controlled gambling machine, there would always be a certain rule, but this rule was something normal people wouldn't be able to discover. Guangyin walked into this dilapidated old residential area and couldn't help but frown. If it wasn't for his father, he would never come to a place like this. However, he only felt disgust, not guilt at all. Chan Shi and her daughter were like strangers in his eyes, and their life and death had nothing to do with him. The hidden house Zhao was an extremely patriarchal family. This was why Zhao Qibing, an illegitimate son, was able to rise to the top, and Chan Shi was reduced to a furnace for gifts. Knock knock knock. Guangyin knocked on the broken security door, and the rotten smell in the corridor filled his heart with disgust. What kind of place was this? Who is it? Mrs. Chun asked curiously. Today was Sunday, and Chan Shi was picking up trash with Grandpa Zhu. There shouldn't be anyone here at this time. It's me. Guangyin didn't know how to describe his identity, and he could only suppress the disgust in his heart. He pretended to be helpless and smiled bitterly. Little Shi's father. What? Mother Chen's expression froze. Her hand, which was about to open the door, immediately stopped. She was in a daze as she lowered her trembling head to look through the peephole. Through the peephole she saw a face that made her heart ache, worry, and a little hate. It really was him. Mrs. Chen didn't even know his name, and she didn't know who he was. She only knew that he raped her, gave her a few thousand yuan, and left her alone. After that, she never saw this person again. So even in her dreams, Mrs. Chen never thought that this person would appear in front of her again. Was this a good thing or a bad thing? Although Mrs. Chen was a kind person, when she saw this man appear in front of her house again, after the excitement, there was only vigilance left. How did he find his way here? And after so many years, why did he come here? Most importantly, how did he call out Little Shi's name? One had to know that when she gave birth to Little Shi, this person didn't know. You. What do you want? I don't know you. Mrs. Chen said subconsciously. Open the door, I'm here to talk about Little Shi. Guangyin thought. Bitch, you're still pretending? You don't know me? If it wasn't for the family's grand plan, do you think I'd want to come to you? Little Shi. What happened to her? Mrs. Chen was shocked, and after hearing that it was about Chen Shi, she stopped doubting Guangyin's motives and opened the door with a bang. Chapter 2360. The dazed Mother Chen once again saw this face up close, a face that she could never forget. This was the only man she had, and the man she hated the most. The drunken promiscuity brought Chen Shi and her mother so many years of hardship. How difficult was it for a woman to raise a child all by herself? Little Shi. It's a long story. Zhao Guangyin pretended to sigh helplessly. Today, he was playing the role of a downtrodden man, so even though he drove a Mercedes-Benz, his outfit was extremely shabby. Of course it was a fake shabby outfit. What's wrong with Little Shi? Tell me. Mother Chen was losing her composure. Chen Shi was her lifeblood, and now that Zhao Guangyin was hesitating, she subconsciously felt that something was wrong. This started when I found Little Shi. Zhao Guangyin began to make up a story. After I found Little Shi, I treated her to a meal to express my apologies for all these years. But I didn't think that my enemy would come looking for me. I owed him money. In the end, he took Little Shi away to pay the debt, saying that a daughter should pay for a father's debt. What? Little Shi was taken away? Mother Chen was stunned, glaring at Zhao Guangyin angrily. At this moment, her worry for her daughter made her dizzy. She forgot to ask Zhao Guangyin how he found Chen Shi, and how he found this place. All she could think of was, what should she do? What should she do? Yes, there's no other way, I can only discuss it with you. Zhao Guangyin didn't want to say another word. Seeing Mother Chen's shock, he was overjoyed. If Mother Chen wasn't afraid or didn't believe him, he would have to make up a bunch of nonsense to explain. That would be really troublesome, but he didn't expect Mother Chen to be so gullible. Then what should we do? You bastard, why are you looking for Little Shi? It's been so many years and you haven't come to see us. Why are you looking for Little Shi now? Aren't you harming her? Mother Chen was very agitated. Why does your enemy want to capture Xiaoxi? This sigh. I was just thinking that since we haven't seen each other for so many years, I should make it up to Little Shi. Who would have thought that my enemy would come? Guangyin said bitterly. He brought Little Shi to the casino in the commercial district of Donghai City. I heard that he wanted to curry favor with the Southeast Asian gambling king, Park Ho-ti, and was prepared to give Little Shi to him. I couldn't stop him. Sai, it's all my fault. What? Mother Chen was dumbfounded. What Southeast Asian gambling king? What casino? This made her feel that it was very far away from her life. It had nothing to do with her at all. As for the Southeast Asian gambling king, since he was called the gambling king, he must be a powerful and wealthy person. She was just a weak woman, how could she compete with him? She really hated Zhao Guangyin to death. Of all times he had to come at this time. It was simply a disaster for her and her daughter. At this time Boss Zhu pushed the door open and ran in shouting, not good, Xiao Chen. Chen Shi was taken away. Boss Zhu's appearance was naturally arranged to make Mother Chen believe it was true. If only Boss Zhu appeared, Perhaps Mother Chun wouldn't believe it so easily. After all, how could a little girl who picked up trash be taken away? However, Zhao Guangyin's appearance was different. Once he appeared, Mother Chun's mind was in a mess. Then, he threw out the bomb that Chun Shi had been kidnapped, which made Mother Chun even more confused. She didn't have the time to think about whether this matter was true or not. Especially when Boss Zhu appeared at the right time. It confirmed Zhao Guangyin's words. Mother Chun was already at a loss, and now Boss Zhu appeared and said that Chun Shi was taken away. Mother Chun was dumbfounded. Ah, you're here too? You bastard, didn't you say you're Chun Shi's father? Are you going to treat her to a meal and tell her something? Why did I see her being taken away? Boss Zhu didn't expect Zhao Guangyin to be here. When he saw Zhao Guangyin, he immediately pointed at him and cursed. This. Zhao Guangyin laughed in his heart. Boss Zhu's acting was quite good. You? The situation is urgent now. I secretly followed those people for a while, and I heard that they wanted to use Chun Shi as a bet to please the king of gambling, Pak Ho Ti. Chun, quickly think of a way. Don't let those beasts ruin Chun Shi. Boss Zhu said anxiously. Boss Zhu, what should we do? Mother Chun asked in panic. Now we can only think of a way to ask someone to help us. Boss Zhu began to set up a trap, ready to lead Mother Chun into the trap. I'm just a weak woman, I don't know anyone. How can I compare with those rich and powerful gambling kings? Who can we find to save Chunyi? Mother Chun said helplessly. Right, I remember someone, he must have a way. Boss Zhu slapped his thigh as if he remembered something important. Who? Zhao Guangyin and Mother Chun asked at the same time. Lin Yi. Boss Zhu finally said the name that he had been waiting for a long time. Lin Yi? Can he help? Mother Chun was desperate. When she heard Boss Zhu mention Lin Yi, she subconsciously thought that Lin Yi might be able to help. After all, Lin Yi had helped their family a lot. Maybe he really had a way. Chun Shi said that Lin Yi had a lot of connections in Songshan. He even knew people from Pingzhan Industries, so he must have a way. So in her panic, Mother Chun didn't have time to think carefully. She picked up the phone and dialed Lin Yi's number. Lin Yi held the phone in his hand as he recalled what Mrs. Chun had said. It was a bit confusing, but Lin Yi understood it all. Chun Shi had been kidnapped, brought to the casino he was in, and someone was using her as a wager against Southeast Asia's king of gamblers, Pak Ho Ti. Or to please Pak Ho Ti, this person took the initiative to give Chun Shi to Pak Ho Ti. Although Mother Chun's explanation was full of loopholes in Lin Yi's eyes. Something about Chun Shi's father who hadn't seen for years appearing and taking Chun Shi away, or her father's enemies appearing and taking Chun Shi away, then Chun Shi's father came looking for her. This series of actions was indescribably strange. Where did Chun Shi's father find Chun Shi? How did he know where Mother Chun lived? Why did Chun Shi eat with a stranger? The most amazing thing was that Boss Zhu, an Earth-class early phase master, could only watch as Chun Shi was taken away, and even came back to testify. Chapter 2361. Mother Chun once again saw this face up close, a face she could never forget. This was the only man she had, and the man she hated the most. The drunken promiscuity brought Chun Shi and her mother so many years of hardship. How difficult was it for a woman to raise a child all by herself? Little Shi. Sigh, it's a long story. Zhao Guangyin pretended to sigh helplessly. Today, he was playing the role of a downtrodden man, so even though he drove a Mercedes-Benz, his outfit was extremely shabby. Of course it was a fake shabby outfit. What happened to little Shi? Tell me. Mother Chun was a little uneasy. Chun Shi was her lifeblood, and now that Zhao Guangyin was hesitating, she subconsciously felt that something was wrong. This started when I found little Shi. Zhao Guangyin began to make up a story. After I found little Shi, I treated her to a meal to express my apologies for all these years. But I didn't think that my enemy would come looking for me. I owed him money. In the end, he directly took little Shi away to pay the debt, saying that a daughter should pay for a father's debt. What? Little Shi was taken away? Mother Chun was stunned, and she glared at Zhao Guangyin angrily. At this moment, her worry for her daughter made her dizzy. She forgot to ask how Zhao Guangyin found Chun Shi, and how he found this place. All she could think of was, what should I do? What should I do? Yes, there's no other way. I can only come and discuss it with you. Zhao Guangyin didn't want to say another word. And now that he saw Mother Chen's shock, he was immediately overjoyed. If Mother Chen wasn't afraid or didn't believe him, he would have to make up a bunch of nonsense to explain. That would be really troublesome, but he didn't expect Mother Chen to be so gullible, believing him so quickly. Then what should I do? You bastard, why are you looking for little she? It's been so many years you haven't come to see us, why are you looking for little she now? Aren't you harming her? Mother Chen was very agitated. Why does your enemy want to capture Xiaoxi? I was just thinking that since we haven't seen each other for so many years, I should make it up to little she. Who would have thought that my enemy would come? Guangyin said bitterly. He brought little she to the casino in the commercial district of Donghai City. I heard that he wanted to curry favor with the Southeast Asian gambling king, Park Ho-ti, and was prepared to give little she to him. I couldn't stop him. It's all my fault. What? Mother Chen was dumbfounded. What Southeast Asian gambling king? What casino? This made her feel that it was very far away from her life. It had nothing to do with her at all. As for the Southeast Asian gambling king, since he was called the gambling king, he must be a powerful and wealthy person. She was just a weak woman, how could she compete with him? She really hated Zhao Guangyin to death. Of all times he had to come at this time. It was simply a disaster for her and her daughter. At this time Boss Zhu pushed the door open and ran in shouting, not good, Xiao Chan. She was taken away. Boss Zhu's appearance was naturally arranged to make Mother Chen believe it was true. If only Boss Zhu appeared, perhaps Mother Chen wouldn't believe it so easily. After all, how could a little girl who picked up trash be taken away? However, Zhao Guangyin's appearance was different. Once he appeared, Mother Chen's mind was in a mess. Then, he threw out the bomb that she had been kidnapped, which made Mother Chen even more confused. She didn't have the time to think about whether this was true or not. Especially when Boss Zhu appeared at the right time. It confirmed Zhao Guangyin's words. Mother Chen was already at a loss, and now Boss Zhu appeared and said that she was taken away. Mother Chen was dumbfounded. Ah, you're here too? You bastard, didn't you say you're Xi's father? Are you going to treat her to a meal and tell her something? Why did I see her being taken away? Boss Zhu didn't expect Zhao Guangyin to be here. When he saw Zhao Guangyin, he immediately pointed at him and cursed. This. Zhao Guangyin laughed in his heart. Boss Zhu's acting was quite good. You? The situation is urgent now. I secretly followed those people for a while, and I heard that they wanted to use Shi as a bet to please the king of gambling, Pak Ho-ti. Quickly think of a way. Don't let those beasts ruin Shi. Boss Zhu said anxiously. Boss Zhu, what should we do? Mother Chen asked in panic. Now we can only think of a way to ask someone to help us. Boss Zhu began to set up a trap, ready to lead Mother Chen into the trap. I'm just a weak woman, I don't know anyone. How can I compare with those rich and powerful gambling kings? Who can we find to save Cheni? Mother Chen said helplessly. Right, I remember someone, he must have a way. Boss Zhu slapped his thigh as if he remembered something important. Who? Zhao Guangyin and Mother Chen asked at the same time. Lin Yi. Boss Zhu finally said the name that he had been waiting for a long time. Lin Yi? Can he help? Mother Chen was desperate. When she heard Boss Zhu mention Lin Yi, she subconsciously thought that Lin Yi might be able to help. After all, Lin Yi had helped their family a lot. Maybe he really had a way. She said that Lin Yi had a lot of connections in Songshan. He even knew people from Pingzhan Industries, so he must have a way. So in her panic, Mother Chen didn't have time to think carefully. She picked up the phone and dialed Lin Yi's number. Lin Yi held the phone in his hand as he recalled what Mrs. Chen had said. It was a bit confusing, but Lin Yi understood it all. She had been kidnapped, brought to the casino he was in, and someone was using her as a wager against Southeast Asia's king of gamblers, Park Ho-ti. In other words, this person wanted to please Pak Ho-ti and took the initiative to give Shi to Pak Ho-ti. Although Mother Chen's explanation was full of loopholes in Lin Yi's eyes, Shi's father that she hadn't seen for many years appeared and took Shi away, or Shi's father's enemy appeared and took Shi away. Then Shi's father came looking for her. Chapter 2362. It didn't make sense at all. If Lin Yi didn't know that Boss Zhu was an Earth class early phase, then so be it. Boss Zhu was clearly a master, and something like this had happened. There was only one possibility: Boss Zhu was hiding something, and this might have something to do with him. But all of this wasn't important anymore because no matter what, Lin Yi had to save Chen Shi. He knew that this was a trap set up by Boss Zhu. But Lin Yi had no choice but to jump in. He couldn't just watch someone die. If something happened to Chen Shi, not only would it be hard to explain to Ziyu, but it would also be hard to explain to Xiao Xiao. After all, this was the girl that Xiao Xiao decided to help. If Xiao Xiao left, and Lin Yi didn't take good care of her, Xiao Xiao would be unhappy when she came back. There was no other way. Lin Yi had to go meet that Pu Ho Ti. Shu Yao Yao, you guys stay here and play. I have something to do. I need to go to the second floor, Lin Yi said to the two. Alright, Shield Bro, go do what you need to do. Yushu was having fun, and she basically figured out the rules of the slot machine. She could win at least 2 or 3 times out of 10, but it was a level where she didn't lose anything. Lin Yi nodded. The security here was quite strong, and as long as Meng Yao and Yushu didn't cause trouble, there shouldn't be any problems. After all, the people who came here were all rich people, and if the security wasn't good, who would come here again? Yao Yao, keep an eye on Shu. Don't let her cause trouble. She can play by herself. Lin Yi told Meng Yao. I know, don't worry. The Miss was a sensible person and naturally, she wouldn't let Shu cause trouble. With that, Lin Yi walked to the second floor of the casino. The first floor was for the public and it was very normal. The second floor, on the other hand, was for 5-card stud bets, and the entry chips were 1 million. Mrs. Chen, under Boss Zhu's guidance, knew that Chen Shi was in the second floor, and even knew the room number. There were many problems, but Mrs. Chen was panicking and didn't pay attention to these details. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was different. This was most likely Boss Zhu's doing. Good day, mister. This is the VIP section upstairs. You'll need to show your membership card or exchange 1 million in chips. Lin Yi was about to go downstairs when 2 waiters stopped him, saying politely, I'll go find someone. Lin Yi said. He was going to exchange his chips directly, but he suddenly remembered that if this was Boss Zhu's doing, there had to be something fishy going on. Boss Zhu would want him to get there as soon as possible. If he was stuck in the matter of the chips, it might not be what Boss Zhu wanted to see, so Lin Yi intended to test it. Looking for someone? The waiters were slightly surprised and then asked, Sir, who are you looking for? The number 1 room, the gambling king, Pu Ho Ti. Lin Yi said. I'm looking for the person who gambled with him. Oh, the waiters who asked the question were slightly surprised. Just when he wanted to say something, the other waiters interrupted him and directly gestured to Lin Yi. Sir, please go downstairs. Lin Yi sneered in his heart. Sure enough, someone must have told this waiter. Otherwise, this waiter wouldn't go against the casino's choice. First, he didn't want the membership card, and second, he didn't let Lin Yi buy chips. He directly asked Lin Yi to go downstairs. Although in the casino, the members could bring people to the second floor, but it must be in the presence of the members. In a situation like Lin Yi's, it was normally not allowed, but this waiter did it. Hee. Lin Yi smiled slightly, took the escalator downstairs, and went straight to the number 1 room. The gambling king of Southeast Asia, naturally, deserved the treatment of the sky's first room. However, Lin Yi was stopped by someone at the door. Who are you? What are you doing? A man in black stretched out his arm coldly and blocked Lin Yi's path. This person was just an ordinary bodyguard, not even a golden class master. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't put him in his eyes. But before Lin Yi could reply, another man in a white suit said to the man in black, You must be Gambling Bro's friend, please come in. Lin Yi's eyes narrowed. A master at the peak of the late phase of the mystic class was just a bodyguard? And he purposely said that he was Gambling Bro's friend to confuse right and wrong. Did he really think that Lin Yi didn't know the problem here? Moreover, his words clearly indicated that he was waiting for Lin Yi to come. It wasn't a coincidence that Chen Shi was kidnapped by her enemy like Mother Chen said. Indeed, Lin Yi was already at the door. Zhao Guangyin's people didn't need to hide anything anymore. From his point of view, since Lin Yi was here, then he was a dead man. A superhuman and an Earth-class late-phase peak would definitely be able to make Lin Yi stay here. This was also Zhao Guangyin's intention. Since Lin Yi was here, then there was no need to pretend anymore. His act was to fool Mother Chen, and Zhao Guangyin knew that he couldn't fool Lin Yi. Oh, thank you. Lin Yi patted the shoulder of the master at the peak of the late phase peak of the mystic class. It looked like he was thanking him, but he was actually activating the first form of the fiery 8 trigrams palm. And so, this pitiful master at the peak of the late phase peak of the mystic class, Zhao Qi-san, died without even being able to resist. Because he never would have thought that Lin Yi would attack him without a sound, and it was a killing move. He died with his eyes wide open. The black-clothed man saw that Lin Yi had killed him. He wanted to say something, but Lin Yi grabbed his neck and easily crushed him to death. Since he was here to cause trouble, Lin Yi didn't need to pretend. Mercy? There was no need to be merciful. Lin Yi didn't like Boss Zhu from the start. If it wasn't for the fact that he wasn't sure which force he belonged to, and that he wasn't his opponent before, Lin Yi would have killed him a long time ago. Of course, the other reason why Lin Yi didn't do anything to him was because Boss Zhu was beside Chen Shi. Although he definitely had ulterior motives, at least he could protect Chen Shi. This was also why Lin Yi kept him alive. But now was it finally time to make a move? Chapter 2363. Mr. Park, this Gamblebro was just an attendant in this room. And whether it was in the eyes of Southeast Asia's gambling king or the hidden house Zhao, he was just a small character. Of course, he knew how Lin Yi came in, because the hidden house Zhao had given him a heads-up. Although he didn't dare offend Puhuati, he didn't dare offend the hidden house Zhao in Donghai City. Brother Gamble could only stammer awkwardly as he did not know how to explain. Where's Chen Shi? Lin Yi looked at the two people who had a surprised look in their eyes. These two were probably in cahoots with the Mystic Late Phase Peak. One of them was Mystic Late Phase Peak and the other was Earth Class Early Phase. Their expressions proved that they were waiting for him. Chen Shi. She already lost to Southeast Asia's gambling king, Mr. Puhuati. The Earth Class Early Phase smiled and said to Lin Yi, "There's nothing for us to do here, we're leaving. Mr. Park, enjoy yourself." Lin Yi, on the other hand, turned his attention to Puhuati and the man in black behind him. Puhuati. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. He was a practitioner, but Lin Yi couldn't see through his strength. He didn't know what level he was at. This was the first time Lin Yi's golden finger had malfunctioned like this. Even when he was facing the Sky Class from the Ice Palace, or even the Masters from the Tagan family, it never failed. But this time it failed on a Southeast Asia gambling king. This person was indeed a spiritual practitioner, but Lin Yi couldn't see through his level. But the man in black behind him, Lin Yi could clearly see through his strength. He was an Earth Class Late Phase Peak spiritual practitioner. Lin Yi frowned and understood that these two were strong opponents. If they really fought, it would be very troublesome. And Lin Yi could basically conclude that Chen Shi didn't have much of a relationship with these two. Chen Shi and these two people actually didn't have much of a relationship. These two people getting involved was completely a trap set up by Boss Zhu. Therefore, after some consideration, Lin Yi decided not to directly deal with Puhuati and the bodyguards behind him. Instead, he targeted the two problematic people here. Who is the master behind you? Who told you to bring Chen Shi here as a stake? Lin Yi asked lightly. Speak or die. This Earth rank expert was called Zhao Guangliu. Chen Shi wasn't in the room. After Lin Yi arrived, he would definitely look for Chen Shi. Now that Chen Shi belonged to Puhuati, if Lin Yi wanted to make a move, it would be against Puhuati. He didn't expect Lin Yi to target him the moment he entered the room. Of course, if Lin Yi didn't know that there was something wrong with Elder Zhu, and only thought of them as enemies of Chen Shi's father, perhaps Lin Yi really wouldn't care about them. But he let them go. After all, Lin Yi's main goal here was to find Chen Shi. But Lin Yi knew that these people had something to do with Boss Zhu. Naturally, he wouldn't let them go. As for Puhuati, he was someone that Lin Yi didn't care much about. Chen Shi is in the room, she belongs to Mr. Pu now. It has nothing to do with us. Chen Shi's father gave her to us, don't look for us. Guangliu was a little scared. He knew that Lin Yi had crippled Elder Bai in one move, so he didn't think that he could fight against Lin Yi. Yeah, we'll leave first if there's nothing else. You want to look for someone, go find Mr. Pu. Let's go to Mr. Pu. Another mystic late phase Peak Zhao Qisi said. What's the relationship between you and Boss Zhu? Lin Yi didn't answer the two. What Boss Zhu, we don't know each other. Guangliu was about to turn and leave the room. He didn't want to argue with Lin Yi. The longer they stayed here, the more dangerous it would be. Zhao Qixi had the same thought. This was a fight between Lin Yi and Pu Huati, so they should leave as soon as possible. Since you don't want to talk, then stay. Lin Yi didn't want to waste any more time with them. They were just small fries. If they didn't want to talk, then so be it. The problem still needed to be solved by Boss Zhu. The next moment Lin Yi moved. It was still the first form of the Fire 8 trigrams palm, and Qixi died without a chance to fight back. He didn't even resist, didn't even struggle. He died just like that. In Lin Yi's eyes, killing a mystic late-phase peak was as easy as killing a chicken. Guangliu wanted to say something, but Lin Yi used another maniac 8 trigram palm, and Guangliu died with his eyes wide open. The two of them couldn't understand why Lin Yi didn't go to Pu Huati for Qianxi, but killed them first? According to their assumptions, Lin Yi would be in a hurry to find Qianxi, and as the third party who lost Qianxi to Pu Huati, it should be easy for them to get away from this. But reality and ideals were different. Lin Yi didn't give them a chance to explain at all. He killed them with lightning speed. Of course, the reason why Lin Yi was so ruthless was because Boss Zhu had bitten Qianxi with a poisonous snake. So Lin Yi didn't have a single good impression of Boss Zhu and his men. But most importantly, Lin Yi was killing the chicken to warn the monkey. Because Lin Yi had a cheat, he could see the strength of Pu Huati's bodyguards. And because of this cheat, Lin Yi felt that Pu Huati would be hard to deal with, so he didn't want to be his enemy if he could. So Boss Zhu's men didn't die in vain. They thought that Lin Yi would have a conflict with the gambling king of Southeast Asia, Pu Huati, but Lin Yi didn't. Even Zhao Guangyin and Old Man Zhao thought that Lin Yi would directly make a move on Pu Huati. Under normal circumstances, what kind of strength could a gambling king have? Even if he had a bodyguard, it couldn't be too strong. Gambling Bro's daughter's bodyguard was only a golden class master, so they thought that Lin Yi wouldn't be afraid of anything. Old Man Zhao also wanted to use this point to make Lin Yi make a move on Pu Huati, so that he could kill him with a borrowed knife. But now the person was killed, but it was just borrowing Lin Yi's knife to kill the hidden Zhao family's people. After getting rid of the two practitioners, Lin Yi acted as if nothing had happened. He turned to look at Pu Huati and smiled. "Mr. Pu, where's that girl called Qianxi? She's my friend. I hope you can let me take her away." Pu Huati frowned and began to guess Lin Yi's true strength. Chapter 2364. A practitioner with this kind of strength was most likely from a hidden house, or from the ancient times. Pu Huati didn't want to provoke these kinds of people, and usually chose to avoid them. It wasn't that Pu Huati was afraid of them, it was just that Pu Huati's roots weren't here. He was the gambling king, and he didn't want to cause trouble. Before he left, his master had told him that there were many hidden masters here, and it was best not to make enemies. But Pu Huati didn't want to make enemies. It was because he couldn't let go of Qianxi. Pu Huati had a secret. To outsiders, he was seen as a perverted ability user, but he himself knew that he wasn't an ability user, but a demonic cultivator. What he cultivated was different from ordinary cultivators. His master was once the subordinate of a very powerful elder in Miaojiang. That elder was once a demonic cultivator, who used to refine venomous insects to achieve the goal of cultivation. However, that elder was killed by someone. His master endured the humiliation and hid for many years. Finally, he found an opportunity to successfully escape to Southeast Asia. He established his own sect and founded a new sect, the Right Miao sect. The people in this sect all practiced a type of goo poison, but the information his master got wasn't very complete, and there were many flaws. Most of the people who practiced this poison died, and only Pu Huati succeeded. But in order for the poison to grow stronger, he needed virgin blood to refine it. So he wasn't a pervert, but he had a secret that he couldn't tell others. Once this kind of poison was mastered, it would be invulnerable to weapons and fire. Although it wouldn't reach the level of the ancestral master elder, it would still be able to reach half of the level. Even so, it was enough to compete with those who mastered the golden cover and iron shirt. And Pu Huati, who had countless women under his belt, immediately saw what was special about Qianxi. Qianxi wasn't an ordinary girl, but a first-rate cultivation cauldron. This type of cauldron wasn't like those ordinary girls who only had an effect when they slept together for the first time. Qianxi could provide endless help to Pu Huati's cultivation. So, even if it meant offending Lin Yi, Pu Huati had to get Qianxi. Even if he had to hide in Southeast Asia and never come out, he wouldn't let go of this golden opportunity. Of course, his superficial identity as a mutant was also a disguise to cover up his true identity as a demonic cultivator. As for his identity as the gambling king, it was just a disguise. It was just to make it easier for him to find some girls that he treated as cultivation resources. In fact, the reason why he could become the gambling king was very simple. He could control a type of insect called the eye and ear insect. Although this insect was very difficult to refine and only his master could refine it, Puhuati was able to use it. The so-called eye and ear goo was a type of goo that could fly. It was very small in size and would fly in the air. It was distributed in a radius of 10 meters, or even a few hundred meters around Puhuati. These flying insects were Puhuati's eyes and ears. Whatever the flying insects saw and heard, they would be transmitted to Puhuati. Therefore, Puhuati could become the gambling king because of these goo insects called eye and ear goo. As for the ability, it was just an excuse. But Puhuati didn't refute the rumor. False could be true, sometimes true could be false. Anyway, it was true and false. As long as he used his identity as the gambling king to continuously find girls to refine his demonic cultivation, it would be fine. I don't care who you are. The casino has the rules of the casino. She is already my trophy. I won't let anyone take her away. Puhuati quickly made a decision and said faintly, "Please." Lin Yi frowned. He didn't expect that Puhuati wouldn't give him face even after he killed 2 people. It seemed like he had something to rely on. Because in Lin Yi's opinion, a person who was lustful wouldn't be this desperate. Fighting against a powerful enemy for an ordinary girl wasn't a worthwhile thing. As the gambling king of Southeast Asia, what kind of girl couldn't he find? Was there one more? Mr. Pooh, I don't want to be your enemy. But if you insist on going against me, then I can only use force. Lin Yi's voice became cold. What Puhuati usually did had nothing to do with Lin Yi. But today he wanted to take Chunxi away by force. Lin Yi could only take action. Go against me? Do you think you're worthy? Puhuati smiled coldly. An Earth class early phase and a Mystic class late phase peak. 2 ants were killed by you. Do you think that's amazing? Or do you think that you're trying to give me a show of strength? Lin Yi's eyes narrowed. He didn't think that Puhuati would say something like this after he'd shown his strength. The only possibility was that Puhuati was very strong. Or, he was relying on the Earth class late phase peak next to him. From the beginning until now, Lin Yi had killed an Earth class early phase and a Mystic class late phase peak. But Lin Yi's strength was that of an Earth class mid phase. This was probably why Puhuati was so fearless. If we don't get along, then let's fight. Lin Yi felt a surge of heroism. The black-clothed bodyguard behind Puhuati was clearly not a normal Earth class late phase peak. His strength was there, but his chi waves were far stronger than Elder Bai's. He was even stronger than the Earth class late phase peak 5 guardians. This person was a strong opponent. If Lin Yi were to fight him, it wouldn't be easy for him. So when Lin Yi said that, he also sent a message to Elder Pai and the others. Lin Yi had been using this phone for a long time, and he was very familiar with the controls. He didn't need to look at the screen at all. This was the most basic skill Lin Yi had when he was an assassin. Pu Lao Lu, go kill him. Puhuati frowned, not wanting to talk to Lin Yi anymore. Yes. When the black-clothed bodyguard behind Puhuati heard Puhuati's words, he immediately moved. At this moment, before the battle even started, the incomparably domineering aura in his body exploded out, reaching its peak. Following that, Pu Laoyu's body pressed down on Lin Yi, his right claw turning light red as well. Lin Yi didn't know what technique it was, but Pu Laolu grabbed at Lin Yi. Suddenly, a wave of pure energy surged towards Lin Yi, and the strong and domineering pressure made Lin Yi's breath catch in his throat. Chapter 2365. Who? Fiery 8 trigrams palm 5th form. Lin Yi didn't dare to be careless. He quickly circulated his chi and activated his strongest martial technique. In an instant, red flames accompanied Lin Yi's palms as they flew towards Park OL6. Hiss! Park Huati was fine as he watched the fight between Lin Yi and Park OL6 expressionlessly. But Gamble Bro, on the other hand, took in a breath of cold air. He was starting to feel uneasy. He was only a peak late phase golden class master, But when Lin Yi and Park Ol 6 used their martial techniques, the formless heat in the air was unbearable for him. This was what it meant when the gods fought. The little devils suffered. When Lin Yi killed the two hidden masters from House Zhao, Gamblebro didn't think much of it. But when Lin Yi used his strongest technique, in this small room, Gamblebro couldn't take the pressure anymore. Mr. Park, can I leave first? Gamblebro looked at Park Hwati carefully. Park Hwati snorted. His attention was on Lin Yi and Park Ol 6, and he didn't pay attention to Gamblebro at all. As for whether Gamblebro left or not, it didn't matter to him. He was just a small character. After hearing Park Hwati's permission, Gamblebro felt as if he had been pardoned. He quickly ran out of the room, but as soon as he stepped out, he saw the two corpses at the door. He shivered and didn't dare to stay any longer. In his opinion, no matter who won or lost, Brother Gamble couldn't afford to provoke them. Therefore, it was better for him to leave first. Seeing Lin Yi's technique, Pu Laoyou's eyes flashed with a hint of disbelief. Perhaps he didn't think that Lin Yi, a mid-earth class warrior, would be able to use the 11th technique. It was a technique that only a sky-class warrior could use. Could it be that he was hiding his strength? Pu Laoyou's heart skipped a beat, but he didn't think it was possible. Lin Yi's true qi was clearly at the mid-earth class level. Once he activated the 11th technique, he wouldn't be able to hide his true strength anymore. But the situation in front of him was very strange. Lin Yi had indeed used the strength of an Earth-class middle stage to activate the 11th martial technique that only a Heaven-class early stage master could use. This was simply unimaginable. However, even so, Pu Laoyou's heart was only shocked for a moment. He wasn't afraid because his martial technique was also a high-grade martial technique. It wasn't the low-grade martial techniques of ordinary hidden families. Now that he had mastered the 10th technique of the sky-splitting claw, he didn't need to be afraid of Lin Yi's fiery 8 trigrams palm's 5th technique. Even though this 5th technique had the power of the 11th technique, the distance between the two wasn't far to begin with. In the blink of an eye, the distance between the two became smaller and smaller. Lin Yi's palms faced Pu Laoyou's sky-splitting claw. This situation made Pu Laolu a little puzzled. Normally, martial techniques were used with one hand. Could Lin Yi use both hands? This fellow was not just any ordinary kind of strange. In theory, it was not easy to be able to use a martial skill with one hand. Unless it was a martial skill that required both hands to use at the same time, then it could be used with both hands. However, most martial skills were only used with one hand. Only those special people who had studied martial skills thoroughly could use both hands at the same time. Of course, although both hands could be used at the same time, it was only the same type of martial technique. The power would only increase by a little, it couldn't be doubled. So Pu Laolu wasn't very afraid. He only had a strong desire to fight. It had been a long time since he met a true opponent. As a mystic late-phase peak, it wasn't strange for him to fight a heaven-class early-stage master. But when he saw Lin Yi, his eyes flashed with excitement, because he knew that Lin Yi was someone like him. Someone who could fight a higher-level opponent. Wasn't Lin Yi the same? Lin Yi had been stuck at the bottleneck of Earth-class mid-phase for quite a while now. He'd just broken through at the Hidden House Summit, and it didn't seem like a long time, but he'd gone through quite a bit of training during that time, and was only a step away from Earth-class mid-phase peak. Leveling up during battle was Lin Yi's ultimate weapon. So this time, although Lin Yi felt that his opponent was troublesome, he still made his move. But Lin Yi had a backup plan. Old Pai came to help. A palm and a claw violently collided with each other. A dull sound of impact suddenly rang out from the point of contact between the fist and the claw. With this point as the origin, a raging wave of true energy rippled out rapidly in all directions. But Pu Huatiai's face didn't change as he sat in front of the gambling table. He wasn't affected at all by the qi from the fight. It was as if all of this had nothing to do with him. In reality, this really had nothing to do with Pu Huati. He trained in a type of King Kong goo poison. Although he hadn't mastered it yet, this level of qi didn't affect him at all. Boom! Lin Yi's other palm landed on Pu Laoyou's chest. It made a muffled sound, but Pu Laolu didn't seem to be hurt at all. His body shook slightly, and he took on Lin Yi's fiery 8 trigram palm head-on. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was injured by the qi from Pu Huatiai's unknown skill. Lin Yi took a few steps back and spat out a mouthful of blood. A cultivator of both internal and external strength. Lin Yi looked at Pu Laolu in disbelief. He didn't expect Pu Laolu to be a cultivator of both internal and external strength. And it seemed like his external strength training focused on defense, similar to the Golden Clock faction's defensive skills. Smart. Pu Laolu was hit by the fifth form of the Fire 8 trigram palm as well, but he was a practitioner of both internal and external disciplines. The clash of pure qi did cause some damage to him, but his meridians and organs weren't damaged at all. He was only shaken up a little. Does your external martial arts have a high defensive attribute? After falling to the ground, Lin Yi didn't rush to get up. Instead, he quickly used the art of dragon mastery to heal his internal injuries. He was just stalling for time. Not bad. Pu Laolu nodded. You're also the first low-level cultivator to survive under my hands. Chapter 2366. You are indeed strong. Lin Yi did not deny it. But I will not give up. Stupid. Pu Laolu sneered. Fine, I didn't want to kill you, but since you want to ruin Mr. Park's plan, I can only send you to hell. Lin Yi's expression changed slightly. His opponent's strength was almost a notch higher than his. If he still had the Vulcan bullets, Lin Yi would have a 100% chance of winning. Unfortunately, he had used 2 Vulcan bullets on the guard and 1 on Tagan Dragon. Now he could only fight head-on. Although a head-on collision was the most disadvantageous way for Lin Yi had no other choice. Mystic class was a competition of strength, while Earth class was a competition of the strength of martial arts. Only Sky class masters could infuse their true qi into their weapons, and at Earth class, using weapons would be a burden. Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm 5th form. Lin Yi once again activated the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm, but this time Lin Yi's target was Pu Laoyu's head. He was looking for a weakness, hoping that his head would be his weakness. However, the disdain in Pu Laoyu's eyes made Lin Yi understand that his head was not a weakness. This person was the same as Ma Zhu, a physical practitioner with high defense. It was not easy to find a weakness from head to toe, especially since this person had practiced internal martial arts and became a master of internal martial arts that could attack. It was even more difficult to deal with. So, in an instant, Lin Yi made a decision. As the saying goes, to capture all the followers, one must first capture the ringleader. Lin Yi might as well not attack Pu Laolu. Since his attacks were useless, he might as well leave his back for him to attack. Meanwhile, Lin Yi shifted his target to Pu Huati. Suddenly, Lin Yi's attack on Parkowell 6 made an inconceivable turn in the air, and both of his palms suddenly attacked Park Ho-Ti, who was sitting beside the gambling table. When Lin Yi was an assassin, he had learned a kind of footwork. When he used it, he was faster than ordinary cultivators. This footwork could also make some seemingly unimaginable moves such as now. Neither Parkowell 6 nor Park Ho-Ti expected Lin Yi to suddenly turn around and target Park Ho-Ti. Boom! Boom! Bang! Lin Yi's palms accurately landed on Pu Huati's chest, and Parkold 6 heaven-splitting earth-splitting claw that was flickering with fiery red true energy also grabbed onto Lin Yi's back. At the same time that Lin Yi hit Park Ho-Ti, he was also hit by Parkowell 6. A mouthful of blood sprayed on the gambling table, dyeing the poker cards red. However, what made Lin Yi feel inconceivable was that Park Ho-Ti did not dodge or dodge. Instead, he took on Lin Yi's move with an indifferent expression on his face. Because of Lin Yi's speed, Park Ho-Ti definitely could not dodge. Even if he was an early-stage heaven stage expert, he would definitely not be able to dodge Lin Yi's sudden change of move. After all, the private room was too small. But even if he could not dodge, it did not mean that he could not dodge and avoid the important parts. However, Park Ho-Ti did not dodge. He used his chest to take on the 5th form of Lin Yi's Mad Fire 8 trigram palm. After receiving the move, his expression was still indifferent, as if the person that Lin Yi just hit was not him at all. You are also a physical cultivator? Lin Yi was shocked. A trace of disbelief flashed in his eyes. Park OL6 was a physical cultivator with high defense. This was already very shocking to Lin Yi, but he did not expect Park Ho-Ti to be the same. However, Lin Yi still could not clearly see Park Ho-Ti's level of strength. Although Lin Yi's golden finger could not directly see the level of a physical cultivator's strength, when a physical cultivator used an external mental cultivation technique to defend or attack, They would use the surrounding spiritual energy to transform into true qi around their body. At this time, Linny could determine their level of strength. Because of this, when Park Ol-6 was defending, Linny knew that he was a physical and external cultivator. However, Park Ho-Ti did not. Linny could not even see his level. Linny only had a feeling that he was a cultivator, but he did not know the specifics of what he practiced and what level of strength he had. Park Ho-Ti did not answer Lin Yi's question. Instead, he looked at Linny and said, "You are not weak. I do not want to be enemies with the practitioners on your side. Now turn around and leave, I will not stop you." Although Park Ho-Ti was not injured, he could feel that Linny was not an ordinary person. He was only a mid-earth class practitioner, but he was able to raise his martial technique to the 11th form of the sky class early stage. This was definitely not some random wandering practitioner. Therefore, Park Ho-Ti guessed that Lin Yi's background was not that simple. He must have the support of an ancient sect or some other force. Being enemies with him was not a good thing. According to Park Ho-Ti's plan, he was prepared to stay in China for a period of time. He would go to various underground casinos and challenge the king of gambling, as well as some arrogant gamblers. This way, he would be able to exchange for the virginity of a few young girls to practice his demonic arts. Because of this, after seeing Lin Yi's strength, he was a bit scared. He did not want to be enemies with Lin Yi. "I also do not want to be enemies with you. But you have captured my friend. I must bring her back, or else I will not rest until I die." Lin Yi did not back down. "Do you really think that I am afraid of you?" Park Ho-Ti frowned and said lightly, "I am just a bit afraid of trouble. Since you are so stubborn, then don't blame me for being impolite." Park Ol-6 continue. "Kid, Mr. Park will let you live. Don't be so ungrateful." Park Ol-6 said coldly, "You can't beat me. Although I have to admit that your martial technique is very powerful, it can only give me a small injury. If you want to hurt me, you can't even use 100 moves." "Oh, so you are saying that I can't do anything to you? No matter how powerful my martial technique is, it will be useless?" Lin Yi asked. "Kid, if I don't tell you, I am afraid that you will not give up. To be honest, my internal and external martial techniques complement each other. In this world, unless it is someone who is a lot stronger than me, such as Sky Class Mid-Stage and above, anyone under Sky Class Mid-Stage and below is not much of a threat to me." Park Ol-6 said proudly, "The bane of my external martial techniques is actually my internal martial techniques. Only my internal martial techniques can break through my external martial techniques." Chapter 2367. Lin Yi held back his excitement at the thought, but his face remained expressionless. He didn't think that Old Six would reveal his secret. Originally, Lin Yi only wanted to get some information out of Pu Laolu to buy some time, then compress a true energy bomb and throw it at him. However, the compressed true energy bomb did not have enough time. Most importantly, if Lin Yi could secretly learn Pu Laoyo's martial arts technique, it would be much easier than compressing the true energy bomb. Compressing the true energy bomb was not something that could be completed in a short period of time. "You can say that. This martial arts technique was destroyed by me after I obtained it. As far as I know, no one else has it." Pu Laolu said calmly, "So I advise you not to waste your time." The reason why Pu Laolu told Lin Yi the truth was that he did not think that Lin Yi could learn his martial arts technique. Even if Lin Yi could get his hands on his martial arts technique through special means, it would take a long time. Moreover, his martial arts technique was unique. It was impossible for Lin Yi to get his hands on it. In short, he was not afraid that Lin Yi would use this martial arts technique against him. However, he did not expect Lin Yi to steal it. "Is that so? Let's try again," Lin Yi said as he activated the fifth style of Frenzy 8 trigram palm, and went straight for Pu Laolu. Boom! Boom! Bang! It was still a head-on collision. Lin Yi ended the battle by retreating. However, Lin Yi's mind was not on the result. Instead, he carefully observed Pu Laoyo's method of activating the Heaven and Earth-Splitting Claw. Lin Yi didn't know the chant for Sky-Splitting Earth-Splitting Claw, and there was no way he could ask for it. So, he could only imitate the activation method of Sky-Splitting Earth-Splitting Claw, just like how he combined Fire Fist and 5-element 8 trigram palms, using Fire Fist chant and Sky-Splitting Earth-Splitting Claw's activation method to create a new technique. After landing, Lin Yi did not stand up immediately. Instead, he closed his eyes and repeatedly replayed the method of activating the heaven and earth splitting claw in his mind. Park Laoyo's movements were like a slow-motion movie, playing over and over again in Lin Yi's mind. Because of his previous experience of combining the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm and Mu Linsen 8 trigram palm, Lin Yi did not spend too much time combining the new martial arts technique. Moreover, the current situation did not allow him to waste too much time. "Brat, are you still not going to give up?" Park Laolu asked coldly. "Oh." Lin Yi stood up slowly. When he was combining the heaven and earth splitting claw in his mind, Lin Yi's body was not idle. He had been using the second stage of the art of dragon mastery to heal his injuries. Therefore, Lin Yi's injuries were much better now. "Oh, what?" Park Laolu was stunned. He did not understand Lin Yi's meaning. "It's the fifth form of the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm." Lin Yi used the mantra of the fifth form of the Frenzy Fire fist and changed the method of activating the heaven and earth splitting claw. As for the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm, it was just to confuse Park Laolu. "Humph, you're overestimating yourself." Pu Laoyo's eyes flashed with disdain at Lin Yi's move, and he humphed coldly. He didn't attack Lin Yi, however, and just stood there helplessly. His meaning was clear. "Fight if you want to, let's see what you can do about it." "Park Laolu, be careful." Pu Huatiai's originally calm face suddenly revealed a trace of disbelief, as he suddenly called out to Pu Laolu. "Huh." Park Laolu was stunned, but it was too late. Lin Yi's heaven and earth splitting claw was already on Park Laoyo's chest. Pu Laoyo's arrogant face suddenly turned pale, and a look of disbelief flashed in his eyes. Then his face turned gloomy, and his whole body flew backward, smashing into the wall of the private room with a loud bang. A deep pit was formed on the wall of the private room. Park Laoyo's injury was not light. From the blackish-purple blood that flowed out from the corner of his mouth, it was obvious that he had suffered a serious internal injury. Lin Yi wasn't too surprised. Although the heaven and earth splitting claw was successfully activated, its power was far less than the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm. It was only equivalent to the power of the fifth form of the normal Frenzy Fire fist, which was the sixth form of a normal high-tier martial arts technique. This combination of martial arts did not bring about the effect of the 5 elements 8 trigram palm. However, it was within Lin Yi's expectations. After all, the power of the 5 elements 8 trigram palm was heaven-defying. Park Laoyo's heaven and earth splitting claw could not be said to be outstanding. It was only equivalent to the power of a normal high-tier martial arts technique. Therefore, the power of the combination of Frenzy Fire Fist and Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw was equivalent to the power of the sixth form of a normal martial arts technique. This was not out of Lin Yi's expectations. However, Park Laolu stood there without any defense or attack, and let Lin Yi hit him. This was out of Lin Yi's expectations. "Isn't this guy a little too arrogant just to make me give up?" Therefore, when Park Laolu was caught off guard, Lin Yi's attack landed on his body. Even though it was only the sixth form, the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw seemed to be a martial arts technique that was specifically used to counter Park Laolu. The damage it brought was much greater than the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm. How is this possible?" Park Laolu coughed up 4 mouthfuls of blood before he stood up shakily. He could not believe what he saw. "How can you activate the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw? Who did you learn it from?" Once Lin Yi finished speaking, he did not wait for Park Laolu to regain his footing. He used the fifth form of the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw again. This time, Park Laolu saw Lin Yi's move clearly. Previously, he took it for granted that Lin Yi used the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm, so he did not guard against it at all. It was not until Park Huati reminded him that he realized something was wrong, but it was too late. But this time when Lin Yi made his move, he saw it clearly. It was the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw. Although he did not know how Lin Yi learned it, the activation method and movement were exactly the same as his. Moreover, the claw had a red fire attribute True Qi, as if he was the one who activated it. Park Laolu was shocked. Others did not know the extent of the damage that the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw could do to him, but he knew. Even if Lin Yi activated the sixth form, the damage to him was still very great. Park Laolu could be sure that if Lin Yi continued to activate it, he would not be able to last more than 5 moves. The Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw was his nemesis. As the saying goes, everything has its weakness. Chapter 2368. Aren't you teaching me? Once you activate it, I'll learn it. Linny said lightly. Thank you for activating it again. I'm even more proficient now. Go to hell. Bang! Bang! Linny hit Park Laolu, and Park Laolu hit Linny. Although Park Laoyo's skill seemed to be stronger, the damage he suffered was no less than Linny. Especially when he was caught off guard by the claw just now, it was a huge blow to his body. Moreover, Linny's last sentence made Park Laolu subconsciously reduce the power of the sky-splitting claw. He didn't want Linny to learn it again. Now that it was very similar, wouldn't it kill him to learn it again? Both of them retreated. Linny sat on the ground and Park Laolu slammed into the wall again. Park Hwati's brows furrowed even more. The way he looked at Linny changed from the initial disdain to the current seriousness. Where did this person come from? Which faction is he from? He can actually imitate other people's skills? Isn't this too heaven-defying? I've never heard of someone with this kind of ability. Park Laoyo's eyes were filled with fear at this moment. He no longer had the arrogance from before, only bewilderment. He couldn't believe it. How is this possible? Linny was actually beaten badly, but he didn't show the pain on his face. This was the so-called acting tough behavior of swallowing one's teeth after being beaten. But sometimes acting tough must be done. When the enemy is confused by you, you win. This is the highest level of acting tough. Linny was recovering, Park Laolu was bewildered, and Park Hwati was frowning, thinking about the pros and cons. Park Hwati originally thought that things should be easy to solve. Linny retreating was the perfect solution. But the situation was completely different now. Linny's 2 consecutive moves had injured Pu Laolu quite badly. If they were to continue fighting, it was hard to say who would emerge victorious. It was very likely that both of them would perish together. But to let Pu Hwati give up on Chanshi just like that, he was absolutely unwilling. It wouldn't be easy to find such a good cauldron if he gave it up. There were simply too few women with such an excellent physique who had been specially raised to be a human furnace from a young age. Pu Hwati had seen many talented girls, but because they were past the age limit, they could no longer be cultivated into cultivation furnaces. This was also the reason why he didn't want to give up on Chanshi and chose to go against Linny. Pu Laolu, finish him quickly. Even if you have to fight him head-on, you have to kill him. That girl is of great use to me. Pu Hwati made his decision in an instant. Even if you die, you will die for the glory of the Right Miao clan. Your ranking will be enshrined by the Right Miao clan. I will also request for your son to be accepted as a disciple when he grows up. At the very least, his status will not be lower than mine. Pu Hwati began to make empty promises to Pu Laolu. He had already given up on Pu Laolu. However, these words made Pu Laoyo's eyes light up. He had to admit that Pu Hwati's promises moved him. He knew that if he and Pu Hwati didn't hand over Chanshi today, Linny wouldn't let the matter rest. But Pu Laolu also knew how important Chanshi was to Pu Hwati, so he knew that the only way was to fight. Kid, you heard it too. If you know what's good for you, leave now and we'll live in peace. If you insist on sticking your neck out, then I'll fight to the death and drag you down with me. Pu Laolu took a deep breath and said to Linny. Of course, he also hoped that Linny would give up and leave. That way he wouldn't have to die in vain. Although he wasn't afraid of death for the sect, who would want to die if they could? Since I said I won't stop until one of us dies, let's continue. Linny stood up and smiled at Pu Laolu. What if the one who dies in the end is you and not me? No, that's possible. Pu 6 vehemently rejected the idea. I have to admit that your ability to steal and learn from me is impressive. But you can't deny the fact that you're just a mid-earth class. You're just a mid-earth class. It's impossible for a martial skill to unleash the power of the 11th move. If I'm not wrong, it should only be the 6th move. And I'm an Earth-class late-phase peak master. My strength and endurance, as well as the power of my martial skills, are far greater. As for you, if we continue like this, you'll be the one to die first. Although, I might also be heavily injured. Oh, what else do you have to say? Linny listened and said faintly, if you're done, let's continue. Oh. At this point, Pu Laolu also knew that there was no way he could convince Linny. He could only continue. Heaven-splitting Fireclaw, 5th form. Lin Yi's injuries and stamina were almost fully recovered. He activated another heaven-splitting fire claw, going straight for Pu Laolu, catching him off guard. He didn't think that Lin Yi would attack just like that, but Pu Laolu was an Earth-class late-phase peak master after all. His reflexes weren't weak either, and he quickly channeled his practitioner's chant. He didn't even use his chi to protect his body. Instead, he poured all of his chi into his technique, activating his strongest technique, Sky-Splitting Claw 10th form. Bam! Bam! Two loud sounds rang out. The two bodies collided and separated, flying in two different directions. Pu Laolu was severely injured. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, he panted heavily. Although he had boasted before, only he knew in his heart how much damage the sky-splitting claw had inflicted on him. This martial skill was the nemesis of his external martial arts. Not to mention the fact that Lin Yi had activated the 6th form. As long as he hadn't reached Sky Class, even the 1st form would be enough to kill him. Only when he reached Sky Class would the damage from the 10 forms of Earth Class martial skills be truly negligible. Unfortunately, he wasn't a Sky Class master. Of course, Lin Yi wasn't having a good time either. After spitting out a mouthful of black blood, he gritted his teeth and silently endured it. After landing on the ground, he desperately channeled the 2nd stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery to heal himself. He didn't say anything harsh. He just used all the time he had to heal himself. This kind of feeling made Lin Yi a little scared. If Pu Laolu didn't give Lin Yi any time to recover, then Lin Yi would only be able to take a one-sided beating. Just like when he faced the 5th Guardian, he could only... Chapter 2369. From his point of view, cultivators could only use medicinal pellets to heal themselves. Otherwise, how long would it take for them to recover on their own? His injuries couldn't be healed, so he could only adjust the chaotic chi in his body so that he could fight against Lin Yi with all his might. With that, Lin Yi was able to take advantage of the situation. Otherwise, he'd have to waste another net of heaven and earth to trap old 6. Then while he couldn't move, he would go to the private room to save Chan Shi. As for Pu Huati, Lin Yi didn't put him in his heart. From Lin Yi's point of view, Pu Huati was just a cultivator with high defense. As for whether it was a spiritual or physical cultivator, Lin Yi wasn't sure. But he definitely didn't have a strong offensive ability. Otherwise, if he and Pu Laolu worked together, even if their offensive ability wasn't that strong, it would still be enough to hold him back. Then, Pu Laolu wouldn't be in such a miserable state. But from the looks of it, it wasn't that he didn't want to, but he really couldn't help. This person only had the ability to protect himself, but he didn't have any offensive ability. Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw 5th form. Lin Yi attacked once more after recovering, continuing to fight head-on with Pu Laolu. It wasn't the first time Lin Yi used this sort of head-on fighting style anyways, and he'd mastered the rhythm and technique a long time ago. The black-clothed assassin and the 3rd head of the Red Conches had all died under Lin Yi's hands. Of course, this method of using a lower level to kill a higher level was only used by people like Lin Yi who had the Art of Dragon Mastery. If it was someone else, they would have died already. But one had to admit that this method was tried and tested. Because the enemy wouldn't expect Lin Yi to be able to recover on his own, and at such a fast speed. Bang! Bang! Another 2 loud sounds. Pu Laolu felt that his internal organs had shifted. Even those that weren't shifted started to bleed. He looked at Lin Yi with a blurry gaze. He regretted telling Lin Yi about his nemesis martial art. But who would have thought that Lin Yi could learn it secretly? Before today, Park Laolu had never dreamed of this. Without the mantra, how could he learn a martial skill in secret? This could only be treated as a joke, but now it was real. Seeing that Lin Yi had vomited a mouthful of blood, Pu Laolu was secretly pleased. Sure enough, this brat's injuries should be more serious than his. He had already spat out 2 mouthfuls of black blood. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels had already been displaced, and Lin Yi would not be any better off. Park Laolu was even more determined to kill Lin Yi, although it was possible for him to do the same. His meridians were all damaged and his cultivation strength was crippled. However, if he could survive and return to the right Miao clan, he would be able to survive. Then sect leader Kuan would definitely let him cultivate Pu Huatiai's devil arts. This was because Pu Huatiai's devil technique was a different kind of cultivation method, which was to refine goo poison. It had nothing to do with normal cultivation. Even a disabled person could cultivate it. Thinking of this, Park Laoyo's eyes flashed with passion. Others might not know, but he knew that if Pu Huatiai's devil technique reached the advanced stage, he would be invulnerable. He would be no different from those who had reached the advanced stage of the golden bell shield and iron shirt. Furthermore, he would not have any weak points. He would have to use the female blood to refine it regularly. This was a difficult matter, but it could be solved. In the future, Pu Huati would have the meat and he would have the soup. The effect would be slightly weaker, but it was better than nothing. Brat, I will kill you today even if I have to risk my life. Park Laolu stood up with confidence and looked at Lin Yi. If you want to die, then come at me. Let's see who has the last laugh. Oh. Lin Yi's injuries had mostly recovered. He responded indifferently and stood up. Although his expression was calm, Lin Yi's heart was beating like a drum. Park Laoyo's confidence seemed to have been boosted. This wasn't going to be easy to deal with. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yi decided to change his strategy. He changed the Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw to Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw. Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw's fifth form was equivalent to the fifth form of a normal high-class technique, but it was better in that he could use 5 forms at the same time. In the beginning, Lin Yi naturally chose Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw to Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw. Although the fifth form of Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw was equivalent to the fifth form of a normal high-class technique, it was better in that he could use 5 forms at the same time. It could be said that if Park Laolu wasn't injured, Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw would definitely deal more damage to him than Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw. This was like an early phase Mystic Class Master. If he wasn't injured, then an early phase Golden Class Master would only be able to scratch his itch. If 5 early phase Golden Class Masters were to attack him, then it would be the same. Only a peak late phase Golden Class Master might be able to cause some damage to him. But if this early phase Mystic Class Master was injured, his defense would be greatly reduced. If a late phase Golden Class Master were to attack him, he would definitely be more heavily injured. But if 5 early phase Golden Class Masters were to attack him at once, then he might very well die. This was also the reason why Lin Yi chose Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw in the first place. But now that Park Laolu was injured, Lin Yi naturally switched to Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw. Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw, 5th form. Lin Yi yelled as he charged forward, channeling Mu Linsen's Thousand Illusions chant, using the Sky Splitting Earth Claw's method of activation. He wanted to use the Sky Splitting Earth Claw's strongest move. But just as Lin Yi was about to use it, Lin Yi was shocked to find that Mu Linsen's Sky Splitting Earth Claw wasn't activated. Not to mention the 5th form. Even the first form's power wasn't activated. In other words, Lin Yi used a useless move. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. He didn't know what was going on, but he didn't dare to try it again. Without a word, he changed his move and used the 5th form of Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw at Pu Laolu. Luckily, Lin Yi's reaction was fast and he was already familiar with this move. There was a pause in the middle, but it didn't affect the overall situation. Old Six didn't understand why Lin Yi had yelled out Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Splitting Claw, but he didn't have the time to think about it. He took a deep breath and charged forward. Since he had chosen to fight to the end, he couldn't compromise no matter what. But the price of not compromising was very heavy. Proportion. Chapter 2370. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. After this fight, Pu Laolu was on the verge of collapsing. His legs were wobbly, and he had vomited too much blood. He wanted to rest, but he heard Lin Yi say, "Again." Oh. Pu Laolu was speechless. He wanted to yell at Lin Yi, "Fuck, are you a cockroach? Can't you just rest for a bit? You're an Earth class mid-phase, why aren't you dead yet? Are you even an Earth class mid-phase?" In fact, Lin Yi had indeed rested for a while. He needed to heal his wounds. But this period of time seemed long to Lin Yi, but to Pu Laolu it was very short. His wounds were getting worse and worse, and Lin Yi's wounds were getting worse and worse, but he was still able to hold on. Of course, Lin Yi could tell that if this went on, he would be done for. But before he was done for, Pu Laolu would be done for. As long as he was done for, Lin Yi could rest in peace and heal his wounds. Left with no choice, Pu Laolu could only attack again. But he was already at his limit. He knew that this would be his last attack. If he got hit by Linny again, he wouldn't be able to live. And so he used up all the chi in his body, wanting to give Linny a killing blow. Sky-splitting Earth Claw 10th form. Sky-splitting Claw 5th form. Linny really wanted to use the 5th form of Mu Linsun's Sky-splitting Earth-splitting Claw. But it had failed. So Linny didn't dare to try again. What if he failed again? Right now Lin Yi had lost the confidence he had in his omnipotent martial skill. After all, he had failed to use Spring Rain before. It wasn't surprising that Mu Linsun's Sky-splitting Claw would fail. But Lin Yi was a little puzzled. He couldn't figure out the reason. Bam! Bam! This attack was indeed fatal to Lin Yi. Lin Yi was injured again. Even though he was healing, he couldn't keep up with his injuries. After being sent flying by Pu Laolu, he landed heavily on the ground. He didn't even have the strength to get up. The reason why Lin Yi was able to fight again was because of his will. That was the only reason why he was able to hold on until now. But Lin Yi smiled. Park Laoyo's situation wasn't looking good. Lin Yi was a doctor, and he could easily tell that Park Laoyo's life was slipping away. He was going to die soon. So Lin Yi started to use the art of dragon mastery to heal himself. He didn't even have the strength to sit up. Pu Huati looked at Pu Laoyo's body. A complicated look flashed in his eyes. Even though he didn't care about a bodyguard like Pu Laolu, he was someone who had followed him for a long time. This time he killed Lin Yi. He had to leave. He couldn't fight Zhu Qisho anymore. He was afraid that the power behind Lin Yi would come looking for him. Thinking of this, Pu Huati quickly walked into the private room. He picked up the unconscious Chan Shi and quickly walked out of the private room. He didn't even want Pu Laoyo's body. A dead person was like a lamp going out. To him, death was death. When he went back, he would advise his father and master to take good care of his son. That would be enough to make up for this debt. Even though Lin Yi was lying on the ground in the space of the jade pendant to heal himself, he could still sense what was happening outside. Seeing that Pu Huati didn't forget to take Chan Shi away at this time, he was shocked and angry. Originally, Lin Yi thought that after he killed Pu Laolu, Pu Huati would definitely choose to retreat and leave with Pu Laoyo's body. But Lin Yi didn't expect that this guy didn't even want Pu Laoyo's body. Instead, he took Chan Shi away. This was unbelievable to Lin Yi. This guy can't be this lecherous, can he? In this situation, he still didn't forget to take Chan Shi away. What kind of person is this? However, even if Lin Yi wanted to stop him, his injuries were too severe. He couldn't get up at all. Moreover, even if Lin Yi stood up, he might not be able to stop him because Pu Huati was simply invulnerable. If Lin Yi wanted to deal with him, it would be more difficult than Pu Laolu. Pu Laolu Lin Yi could use the Mad Fire Earth-splitting Claw to deal with him, but Pu Huati was different. This guy wasn't afraid of being hit. Even if Lin Yi hit him, it would be useless. Seeing that Pu Huati was about to walk out of the room, Lin Yi suddenly became anxious. He didn't care about his injuries anymore. He climbed up from the ground and shouted at Pu Huati. "Stop!" Hey! Pu Huati was shocked by Lin Yi's roar. Previously, he thought that Lin Yi and Pu Laolu should have perished together. After all, both of them were lying on the ground motionless. Pu Huati subconsciously thought that both of them were dead. How could he have thought that Lin Yi came back to life and stood up again? "You didn't die?" Pu Huati was shocked. He turned his head and looked at Lin Yi, who was trembling as he stood up. Pu Huati then smiled. "You're just a strong arrow. What can you do to me? Although you should have guessed that I don't have any offensive martial skills, you absolutely can't stop me from leaving. Because my defense is very strong. You can't kill me. You didn't die. That's not bad. I'll leave first. See you again." In Pu Huati's view, if Lin Yi didn't die, then the sect behind Lin Yi wouldn't be too angry. He also knew that these big sects in China had some top-quality third-grade dawn. As long as there were dawn, he believed that Lin Yi's recovery was only a matter of time. The sect behind him wouldn't travel all the way to Southeast Asia to find trouble with him. Although Lin Yi was unwilling, he had no choice but to admit that what Pu Huati said was the truth, because at this moment he really could not win against Pu Huati. This person was invulnerable. Just like those external martial artists who practice the golden bell cover and iron skin shirt. If Lin Yi wanted to make him stay, it was impossible without a true qi bomb. However, in Lin Yi's current state, it was already very difficult for him to heal his wounds. How could there be a true qi bomb to deal with him? Therefore, Lin Yi was helpless and anxious, but there was nothing he could do. His injuries hadn't healed yet, so he had to brace himself and fight. Frenzied Flame Heaven Splitting Earth Splitting Claw 5th move. Lin Yi didn't know if the Frenzy Fire Heaven Splitting Earth Claw would be effective against Pu Huati, but he knew that the 5th form of the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm didn't cause any damage to Pu Huati, so he could only try the Frenzy Fire Heaven Splitting Earth Claw. Humph! When Pu Huati saw that Lin Yi still dared to attack, he was instantly angered. He frowned and activated some unknown cultivation technique. You won't repent until you see the coffin. The fastest update. Please bookmark. Chapter 2371. Bam! Lin Yi sensed that something was amiss as Pu Huati seemed to be using some unknown practitioner's arts, but it didn't look like one either. It was like he was activating something, and his skin glowed with a metallic light. Lin Yi's heaven-splitting earth-splitting claw hit Pu Huati's body. But it was as if he'd hit a piece of metal. The recoil was so painful that Lin Yi's claw felt like it was about to break. Plus, he'd used up every last bit of strength he had in that claw attack, and it hadn't hurt Pu Huati in the slightest. Lin Yi couldn't stop Pu Huati from leaving anymore. Lin Yi's head was spinning, and he was about to faint from being forced into the jade space. But at that moment the door was pushed open, and Elder Pai came charging in with Pai Jishan, Pai Jihai, Wu Chantian and Wu Gonggao. Leave him, Lin Yi said as he looked at the 5 people who had barged into the room. His heart was filled with comfort as he fainted. Elder Pai, Pai Jishan, Pai Jihai, Wu Chantian, and Wu Gonggao were shocked when they saw Lin Yi faint. But they didn't go check on Lin Yi's injuries, instead activating their strongest skills at the same time, attacking Pu Huati. 11th form of Heaven and Earth Fist. Elder Pai roared, sending a punch at Pu Huati. First form of Heaven and Earth Fist. Jishan, Chantian and Gonggao all used the first form of Heaven and Earth Fist they'd been practicing for the past 2 days. Second form of Heaven and Earth Fist. Jihai, on the other hand, could use the second form of Heaven and Earth Fist. They used their strongest moves right from the get-go, and they saw that Lin Yi had fainted. Naturally, they wouldn't hold back anymore. Lin Yi's order was to keep this guy here, so they had to go all out. Pu Huati didn't expect that Lin Yi's helpers would come, and there were even 5 of them. However, he wasn't nervous. He didn't believe that ordinary cultivators could do anything to him, so he continued to activate the demonic goo poison, making his body invulnerable. Bang! 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 After 5 loud bangs, Pu Huati was met with tragedy. His head was broken, his chest was flattened, and there was not a single intact bone in his body. The strongest external attacker. Pu Huati finally realized that his death was not unjust. The 5 people who came in later were all physical experts. Moreover, they were all trained physical experts. Their attack power was extremely strong, and coupled with their godly martial skills, it was not an injustice to kill him. Although he trained in demonic arts and had the goo poison on him, he hadn't mastered it yet. Right now, normal sky class early to mid-phase spiritual practitioners couldn't do anything to him, but that didn't mean that these physical practitioners were useless against him. Spiritual practitioners use qi to hurt the enemy, and physical practitioners use the body to hurt the enemy. The two seem to have similar destructive power, but spiritual qi couldn't penetrate Pu Huati's body. Iron fists, on the other hand, were different. This was what they meant by, there's always a counter to another. Even one of them was enough to injure him. Not to mention 5 at the same time, this was simply an instant kill. But before he died, he just couldn't figure out why 5 refined external martial arts experts had suddenly appeared. After killing Pu Huati, Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai quickly ran to Lin Yi. Boss, how are you? Boss should be fine. Shintian knew Lin Yi quite well, and he knew that Lin Yi could recover on his own, so he was quite shocked. He waved his hand at the 2. Don't worry, just wait patiently and guard this place. Don't let anyone disturb us. Okay, Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai replied. Shintian, my friend, this body. There's another body over there. Elder Pai paused, only realizing that there was another body in the room. No wonder Linny was so heavily injured. He was thinking that there was nothing special about killing that person, just a few people working together to kill him in one hit. Linny shouldn't be so heavily injured. It seemed like Linny had gotten injured while fighting with the others. Don't worry about it for now. Chuntian waved his hand as he looked at Chan Shi on the ground. She couldn't be his sister-in-law, could she? She looked a little young, like a high schooler. But Chuntian didn't dare tarry. He carefully lifted Chan Shi and put her on the sofa, untying her hands and feet. Old Pai and Old Wu nodded. They were older, but they still followed Chuntian's orders. After all, Chuntian had been with Linny for the longest time. All right, then what should we? Elder Pai asked. Go find the boss here and ask him what's going on. Chuntian knew that he couldn't disturb Linny. But if something happened to Linny, the boss would definitely be blamed. He might even know what happened, so the best thing to do was to ask him what happened. All right, I'll do it. Elder Pai nodded. His admiration for Lin Yi was unparalleled. At first he served Lin Yi because Lin Yi helped Pai Jihai heal. But now, after seeing Lin Yi's power, especially after Lin Yi leveled him up to a master of both internal and external cultivation, his gratitude towards Lin Yi turned into admiration and worship. The world of cultivation was a world where the strong ruled. Elder Pai knew this, especially after seeing the potential and strength that Lin Yi had shown. He knew that if he followed Lin Yi closely, the Hidden House Pai's path would not only stop at the Hidden Noble House level. They might even become an ancient noble house. As long as he, Pai Jishan, and Pai Jihai all became heaven-rank masters who cultivated both internal and external cultivation, the Holy Fist Palace would be the first to support them and support House Pai to become an ancient aristocratic family in the ancient level meeting. Then Old Master Pai stood up and walked out of the room. There was no one around the room, but at the end of the corridor, there was a waiter who was looking at the situation with shifty eyes. You come here. Old Pai pointed at the waiter. Excuse me, sir, what can I do for you? The waiter was startled and asked carefully in a panic. Where's your boss? Old Pai asked. Our boss. Excuse me, what can I do for you? The waiter asked in a trembling voice. Tell him to appear in front of me in 1 minute, or else I'll smash his place. Old Man Pai was the head of a family. He was usually very dignified, but now that he was Lin Yi's subordinate, he naturally became an arrogant little brother. The fastest update. Please bookmark. Chapter 2372. Up. Please wait. The waiter saw Elder Pai walk out of the Sky Room 1, and Gambling Bro had specifically asked him to check the room carefully and report back if anything happened. The waiter didn't dare to delay, so he relayed Elder Pai's request to Gambling Bro. Boss, someone wants to see you. The person who came out of the Sky Room 1. He said that if you don't show up in a minute, he'll destroy our place. Oh. Gamble Bro frowned, displeased at the arrogance of the newcomer. But thinking back to the Earth-class strength that Lin Yi and Pu Laolu had displayed in the room, he knew that he, a mere golden-class late-phase peak, was no match for them at all. He couldn't fight against the person who came out of the room, whether it was Lin Yi or Pu Laolu. He thought about it and said, Okay, I'll go now. Within a minute, Gambling Bro appeared in front of Elder Pai. I'm the boss here, people call me Gambling Bro. Who's looking for me? Gambling Bro looked around but he didn't see Lin Yi, Pu Laolu and Pu Huati. He wasn't that scared anymore, so he looked at Elder Pai and said calmly, What's going on in that room? Elder Pai pointed at the Sky Room 1 not far away. Who are you? Gambling Bro asked. You're not going to tell me? Old Man Pai furrowed his brows, a little annoyed. This boss didn't know how to appreciate favors. He casually clenched his fist, and with a punch, a bronze statue in the hallway was smashed into pieces. This was the most effective way. Old Pai didn't know that Gambling Bro was a practitioner, so he didn't bother to explain anything about sky-class masters or hidden houses. From Old Pai's point of view, Gambling Bro didn't know much about these higher-level things. He was just a casino owner who had a good reputation in the underworld. So Old Man Pai smashed the statue with one punch to shock Bro Gamble. But Gamble Bro's eyes showed shock. He was a cultivator, and although he was only at the peak late phase of Golden Class, he could see the depth of Old Pai's strength. Old Pai was a Sky-class early phase master. This made Gambling Bro's legs go soft and he almost knelt down. Senior, I had eyes but failed to recognize them to tie. So Senior is a heaven rank initial phase expert. If you have anything to say, please don't hesitate to tell me. I, Gambling Bro, will tell you everything I know. Humph. Old Pie snorted, a little surprised. You're a cultivator too? I'm just a master at the peak of the late phase of the golden class. Gambling Bro cupped his fist and said carefully. Oh, then come with me. Tell me clearly what happened in this box. Old Man Pie heard that Gambling Bro was also a cultivator. It saved him a lot of trouble. At least he didn't have to threaten him. He would cooperate obediently. Yes. Gambling Bro didn't dare to delay at all. He nodded, but he was shocked. His little casino had such a master? Sky class. That was a legendary existence, and he didn't expect to see one with his own eyes. Gambling Bro followed Old Pie back to the box, and what he saw shocked him. Puhuati was dead, Pulaulu was dead, and Linny seemed to be dead as well. Which side were these people from? Could it be the Hidden House Zhao? That's right, I heard that the Hidden Zhao family's old master Zhao is a heaven rank expert. It seems like the 5 people in front of me are from a third party. Gambling Brother heaved a sigh of relief and probed. Senior is the Hidden Zhao family's old master Zhao? You know about the Hidden House Zhao? Old Pie frowned. I'm not from House Zhao. Don't try to use connections. Tell me everything you know. This? Yes. Brother Gamble was slightly taken aback. From the looks of it, this person in front of him really wasn't from the Hidden Zhao family. Moreover, from his tone, he didn't seem to be very respectful towards the Hidden Zhao family. Hence, he didn't dare to have any more suspicions and hurriedly explained everything that had happened here. Actually, this had nothing to do with him. He invited Southeast Asia's king of gambling, Puhuati, to fight Hong Kong's king of gambling, Zhu Qisho. The reason was very simple. In the past, Zhu Qisho had come to the casino to wreak havoc, causing Gambling Bro to suffer heavy losses. Zhu Qisho had killed all the consultants in Gambling Bro's casino, causing him to suffer a crushing defeat. Therefore, Gambling Bro was unwilling to accept this outcome. Coincidentally, he heard of Parkwati's name and invited him to challenge Zhu Qisho. Puhuati wanted to win the girl's virginity through gambling, and Gambling Bro wanted to revive the casino's reputation, and also to rub down Zhu Qisho's spirit. So the two of them hit it off. But in the end, the two of them were in a cooperative relationship, and there was no other relationship. Puhuati's opponent this time was the Hidden House Zhao. And the Hidden House Zhao's people seemed to want to lose to Puhuati on purpose. They made Chun-Chi lose to Puhuati. Not only that, but they also asked Gambling Bro to inform the security on the first and second floor, so that Linny could come over smoothly. Anyway, Gambling Bro didn't dare to hide anything. The person in front of him was a heaven-class master. He even dared to betray the Hidden House Zhao, so he didn't dare to lie. He was a practitioner at the lowest level. If Old Pie wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. Oh, you mean the Hidden House Zhao wanted to make this girl lose to Puhuati on purpose, and then lure Mr. Lin here to save her? Old Pie understood what Gambling Bro meant. It should be like this. Gambling Bro said carefully. I understand. Okay, you can leave first. There's nothing for you to do here. Old Pie waved his hand and said to Gambling Bro. This matter really didn't have much to do with Gambling Bro, so Old Pie wouldn't vent his anger on him. He was just a small character. The Hidden House Zhao was behind all of this. Everything would have to wait for Linny to wake up, and then let Linny make the decision. Okay, Senior, if there's anything, you can find me anytime. Gambling Bro said carefully. Okay. Old Pie snorted and no longer cared about Gambling Bro. In his eyes, this kind of person was just an ant. He directly kicked him out, so that he wouldn't disturb Lin Yi's recovery. Although Lin Yi seemed to be unconscious, he was actually healing inside the space of the jade pendant. He could still clearly sense everything that happened outside. Hearing the conversation between Old Pie and Gambling Bro, Lin Yi's hatred towards the Hidden House Zhao increased a bit. Chapter 2373. Capturing Chun-Chi to give to Puhuati, trying to get past Puhuati to get rid of him. Poor Puhuati, on the other hand, didn't do anything wrong. It was his stubbornness refusing to let go. If he had given up on Chun-Chi, he wouldn't have been killed by Elder Pie and the others. But it was also because of his bad luck and strength. If it weren't for Elder Pai and the others, Linny wouldn't have been able to stop him today. It was a close shave. Linny naturally wouldn't let it go just like that. The hidden house Zhao, huh? He'll remember this. Zhao Qikuan, Elder Pai and the others, he'll get Zhao Qikuan to deal with you guys later. On the first floor of the casino, Yushu was playing happily. Oh, I'm genius, Shu, I won again. Yushu looked at the combination of patterns on the screen and jumped up and down with her fists raised. Shu, does this count as cheating? Meng Yao was a little worried. After all, Yushu was the one who figured out the pattern of the slot tiger, and she was basically winning every round. In just a short while, Shu had already won more than 5 million in chips. If this continued, wouldn't the casino lose money? Would there be people coming to cause trouble? Cheating? We didn't cheat, we just figured out the pattern. How is that cheating? Yushu shook her head. It's fine, this is a big casino, can't we afford to lose money? If we can't, our reputation will be ruined. You're right. Meng Yao looked at the customers and nodded. If someone really came to stop her and Shu from winning, then the casino's reputation would be ruined. There were a lot of rich people in Donghai, and there were many big bosses who could afford to lose. However, they could lose money, but they would never allow people to say that they cheated when they were winning. Can't afford to win? Who would come to play then? Of course, under normal circumstances, the casino wouldn't do such a self-destructive thing. However, it wasn't like no one noticed Shu's continuous winnings. In the casino surveillance room, there were people who had noticed this a long time ago. When they switched the image to Yushu, they realized that Yushu wasn't cheating at all. It wasn't easy to cheat at a slot machine like this, but it seemed like she had grasped some sort of calculation pattern. However, it wasn't that the casino didn't have any countermeasures. These slot machines were all connected to the internet. As long as they tampered with the control room, they could force the machine's program to not operate according to the conventional calculation method. The final result of human interference was a very simple matter. As a result, Yushu started losing after the surveillance team tampered with her slot machine, and she didn't even manage to win a single round. After all, no matter what she bet on, the people in the surveillance room would interfere with the result, and it'd be fine if the result didn't match Yushu's bet. Why isn't it working? Yushu looked at the slot machine in front of her strangely. She realized that her calculations weren't working. Logically speaking, it wasn't possible. She calculated it based on the results of the slot machine many times. Alright, Shu, that's enough. No one can keep winning. Let's just play for a bit. Meng Yao didn't know why Yushu's calculations weren't working, but she wasn't very interested in betting on the slot machine. No, there must be something wrong with this machine. I'll try another one. With that, Yushu walked over to another machine with a big box of chips in her hands, starting a new bet. As expected, this time, according to Yushu's calculations, the result was exactly the same. Yushu let out a yay and started betting again with confidence. However, this time the result was tragic. The result was different from her calculations. Why isn't it working again? Yushu frowned, a little unhappy. Theoretically speaking, if the first calculation was correct, then the next one should work as well, but it just didn't work. Yushu switched to another machine and it worked the first time, but it didn't work the second time. She was a little puzzled. In the surveillance room, the person in charge of the surveillance frowned as well. If Yushu played like this, she could really win once or twice if she switched to a different machine every time. After all, he still needed some time to get the control of the terminal machine. However, Yushu didn't plan to switch to another machine, and the person in charge breathed a sigh of relief. Yushu started studying the machine again, but no matter how she studied or what she bet on, the result would always be different. This result was the result of the person in charge of the surveillance, and Yushu couldn't calculate the pattern at all. What's going on? Yushu panicked as the chips in front of her decreased. She stopped studying the machine's pattern and started studying the machine itself. She walked around the machine and her eyes lit up. There was an internet cable at the back of the machine, and there was an internet cable inserted into it. The data exchange light of the internet cable was blinking. However, only this machine's data exchange light was blinking very frequently. The other tiger bashers didn't flicker this much. Evidently, the tiger pheasant was constantly exchanging data with the server's server. Yushu had learned something like this in her school's computer class, and so she understood the reason why she was losing money right away. Her tiger basher was probably targeted by the person in charge of the server. No matter what she bet, the other side would interfere. Naturally, it was impossible for her to win money. Yushu was angry at the thought. She came here to gamble and she didn't cheat. How dare they interfere? Wasn't this a little too petty? Yushu pulled out the internet cable and continued to bet with a smile on her face. As expected, the result was the same as the display. As expected, Yushu decided to place a higher bet this time. Very quickly, the chips in front of her went from a pitiful 2 million to more than 10 million. At this moment, the surveillance room was in chaos. The person in charge of the surveillance realized that he had lost connection with Yushu's tiger basher. He couldn't control the machine from the terminal, but from the surveillance footage, the tiger basher was still working normally, spitting out large amounts of chips. Chapter 2374. He'd been too focused on Yushu's screen that he hadn't seen her pull out the cable, and so he'd assumed that it was just a problem with the cable. He was sweating profusely from the panic. But he was a professional after all, and after checking for a long time, he realized that all the other machines were working except for Yushu's machine. He quickly called the boss of the casino, "Casino bro," out of nervousness. "Gamble bro, bad news. There's a problem with one of the slot machines." The man said urgently. "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Gamble bro had just left the Sky Room 1, and was still in shock. He didn't think that it was a big deal when he heard that there was a problem with the slot machine. "Can't you get someone to fix it if there's a problem? It's just a slot machine." "No, Gamble bro, it's like this. Someone calculated the pattern of the slot machine." The man explained quickly, and told Gamble bro about Yushu's situation. He then said with a sad face, "Now the slot machine suddenly stopped working, and I can't change the results of her bets. The machine has already spat out tens of millions of chips, and if this continues, we'll lose our money." "What? Why didn't you say so earlier? Motherfucker. I'll bring someone over right now." Gamble bro sweated when he heard that the slot machine had spat out tens of millions of chips. He quickly called a few security guards over to the surveillance room. Gambler bro, on the other hand, frowned when he saw Yushu continue to win money in the video. Gamble bro had been in this casino for many years, and he could tell with one look that Yushu wasn't cheating. She had an extremely high IQ, and had used some kind of exquisite calculation method to calculate the results of the slot machine. But this type of person was also the hardest to deal with in the casino, because there was no way to find any evidence of her cheating. Usually, when someone like this appeared, the casino would take measures to interfere with the results of the slot machine, forcing the expert to back off. If it was a bet with someone else, the casino would hire a gambling consultant to watch the fight. As for Zhu Qisho, he had also come to challenge the casino. Not only did he win against the casino's gambling consultant, but he also won 20 million yuan from Gambling Bro. Although he only got 10 million after the incident, it made Gambling Bro very sullen and disgraced him. After all, Zhu Qisho was the famous king of gamblers in Harbor City. He even had a mystic stage master as his bodyguard. Brother Zhu Qisho didn't dare to use force. Asking for 10 million was already giving him a lot of face. Of course, this was also because Zhu Qisho was an insider and knew to leave some leeway when doing things. This time, Gambling Bro had invited Pu Huati to challenge Zhu Qisho in order to wash away his shame. He didn't expect that Pu Huati would be killed before he could even fight. Let's go take a look. Gambling Bro looked at the two youthful and beautiful gambling experts on the screen. He was a little confused. Where did these two people come from? If he was the gambling king, why hadn't he heard of him before? But no matter what, Brother Gamble couldn't let her continue to win. If this continued, he would go bankrupt. Because of his daughter's kidnapping, he was blackmailed out of 20 million. Seeing that Yushu was about to win 20 million, he wanted to die. With a few security guards in tow, Gambling Bro went straight to Yushu's slot machine on the first floor. Yay! I won again. My chips are over 20 million. Yushu cried out in joy. Ahem. Shu, we might be in trouble. Mengyao frowned as she reminded Yushu as she looked at the aggressive security guards surrounding them. But Mengyao wasn't too worried. If worst comes to worst, they could just give up the chips and take back the money they lost. The casino wanted money, and with so many customers around, they couldn't be violent. Oh! Yushu stopped her bet and looked around. She frowned as well. Beautiful miss, let me introduce myself. I'm the owner of this casino. People call me Gambling Bro. Gambling Bro said directly. The slot machine in front of you has a malfunction, causing the system to malfunction. It's spitting out chips non-stop, but these don't count. Yushu hesitated. She was usually arrogant and fearless because of Linny, but Linny wasn't there. She wasn't an idiot, and naturally she wouldn't start a fight with this many security guards. But Yushu's eyes lit up as she said arrogantly, Gambling Bro? You're saying that you can't pay up, so you're trying to find an excuse to say that the slot machine is broken? Miss, if that's how you want to interpret it, then there's nothing I can do. Gambling Bro said faintly with a shrug. But to make up for your losses, I've given each of you a 1 million yuan red packet. Take it and leave. 2 million? Do you think I'm a beggar? I won 20 million. Yushu didn't let it go. Shoo! Meng Yao pulled on Shu's arm, signaling her not to overdo it. Relax, Yao Yao, shield bros here. Yushu whispered into Meng Yao's ear. Oh! Meng Yao smiled bitterly. No wonder Shu was so stubborn, she had someone to back her up. Linny was worried about Meng Yao and Yushu, and this wasn't the best place to recover his qi. Linny stood up after healing his organs and meridians. As for the qi he'd lost and the other injuries, Linny planned to recover slowly when he got back. Boss, are you alright? Chen Tian had been paying attention to Linny the whole time. He asked when Linny stood up. Boss. Jishan and Jihai looked at Linny concerned. Haha, I'm fine. Linny nodded and stretched his body. Let's go. Thank you for coming in time and keeping Puhua Ti here. This is Puhua Ti? Chen Tian asked as he looked at the corpse on the ground. You know Puhua Ti? Linny was surprised. Southeast Asia's gambling king. I heard he came to Donghai recently. I didn't expect him to be killed by us. Chen Tian said casually. Right, boss, the boss from before is here. After all, the forces in Southeast Asia were too far away for Chen Tian. No matter what, they wouldn't come looking for trouble on a large scale. Even if Puhua Ti's sect was pissed, there was nothing they could do.